Ron or Ethan?
We're ready to go, Counselor.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Just imagine me banging the gavel. I don't know if anyone can see me or hear me, but for the record, my name is Ben Weber. I'm the District 6 City Councilor, and I am the chair of the Boston City Council Committee on Labor, Workforce, and Economic Development. Today is April 24th, 2024. This hearing is being recorded, is also being live streamed at boston.gov/city-council-TV and broadcast on Xfinity Channel 8, RCN Channel 82, and FiOS Channel 964. Written comments may be sent to the committee email at ccc.labor@boston.gov and will be made a part of the record and available to all counselors. Public testimony will be taken at the end of this hearing. Individuals will be called on in the order in which they signed up or appeared. We'll figure that as we go along, and we'll have 2 minutes to testify each. If you're interested in testifying virtually, please email our central staff liaison, Ron Cobb, at ron.cobb, that's with 2 B's, COBB, at boston.gov for the link, and your name will be added to the list. Today's hearing is on docket number 0475, an order for a hearing regarding biannual review of the Boston Employment Commission and Boston Residents' Jobs Policy. This matter was sponsored by me, Council President Louis Jen, and Councilor Brian Worrell, and was referred to the committee on March 6, 2024. We are conducting this hearing pursuant to City of Boston Code Chapter 8, Section 8-9.9, which states, and I'll just read this out because there's an ordinance which governs this very quickly. It states, each year in April and October, the Boston City Council will hold a hearing to review the work of the Boston Employment Commission during the preceding 6 months based on a report that itemizes 1, the number of compliance determinations, 2, the number of developers, general contractors, construction managers, and subcontractors determined out of compliance, 3, the number of sanctions levied, 4, the amount of sanctions levied, 5, the number of sanctions received by developers and general contractors and subcontractors in each of the 22 trades. 6, the number of work hours, trade by trade. 7, the percentage of the total hours, trade by trade, performed by Boston workers, people of color, and women during the preceding 6 months. And 8, the Boston Employment Commission will also provide data and information that will enable the City Council to make a recommendation as to whether the goals for people of color or female workers should be raised. Just to set the table for folks, that's what we're here for. Today, I'm joined by my colleagues in order of arrival, Madam President Rusi Louis Jen, City Councilor Enrique Pepin, Councilor Julia Mejia, Councilor Brian Worrell, and I guess if Councilor Worrell wants to speak, he needs to accept the invitation as a panelist. So I was told that the administration has a hard stop in about 20 minutes or so for Chief Nguyen, and so in light of that, we're going to skip opening remarks until after a presentation from our panelists. So I will. So just by way of introduction, we have the Chief of Worker Empowerment and the Director of the Office of Workforce Development, Trinh Nguyen. We have Deputy Chief of Worker Empowerment, Jody Sugarman Brazen, and we have the Boston Residents Jobs Policy Manager, Christopher Brown. I am not sure if there's somebody I'm missing. That looks like it. So I guess, Chief, we're ready for your presentation.
Great, thank you. And Trinh would be my preference, and no need for Chief. Everyone else I'm a worker just like everybody else. So thank you. I want to thank you, Madam President, and then also all the city council members who are here. I want to thank Councilor Weber for working with us consistently because we want to hear constituents' feedback. And then we are in the community and we are working to listen and to learn, because every day what we do, our job is to make sure that things on the ground is operationalized in policy and practices. So I want to thank all the council members who've been working with us even before this hearing. I also want to thank the city staff putting these meetings together. We know it's not easy to coordinate, do remarks, draft them, and schedule. So those little things mean a lot to us. I want to give a shout out to city workers. Also a shout out to Worker Empowerment Cabinet staff putting data together, Chris Brown and his team. Really making sure that we have the most updated, accurate information as possible to present. Just to clarify, while I have a hard stop, our panelists and our staff are here to answer additional questions. I'm also happy to follow up with any other additional questions if we don't have time to answer them. So this is a continuous dialogue and conversation we want to have with you, not just a presentation. I'm going to defer to someone to share the PowerPoint, and what I'll do is just kind of give a high-level overview of our Worker Empowerment Cabinet. It's fairly new. Our work hasn't been. Our values, our commitment, our love for this work have always been there. But the cabinet is fairly new for about 2.5 years. It seems like 20 years, but our work remains the core and remains the same. Next slide, please. I think many of you we've worked with in terms of the thinking, policy, program, and the practice, and listening to our residents and neighborhoods on the ground. So we will be doing, our panelists include myself, who have the honor of serving the constituents in the city of Boston, Jody Sugarman-Rosen, Deputy Chief, Chris Brown, BRJP Manager, and Michael Endell, Senior Researcher, Data Scientist at the Boston Planning Development Agency, who are our research colleague and arm of this work. Next slide. So we will go through, this hearing is a biannual and annual update. And just to let you know that we, while this is procedural and has been scheduled, we just want you to know that we're always open to listening and to learning. So don't think that this particular hearing is the end all be all. It is an update touch point in which we can engage, and we want to listen and learn. That's our job. So we're going to give a brief overview of the Worker Empowerment Cabinet, the BRJP history and compliance procedures, BRJP project compliance data, sanctions, economic impact analysis from 2023, the Boston Resident Jobs Policy Bank, and then also the Boston Employment Commission. Again, this is going to be more than 20 minutes. Only my time will be 20 minutes or so. I'm going to stay as long as I can, but our staff panelists will be here to answer these questions and provide this review. We also want you to know and caveat by saying, just to respect everyone's time, what will be presented will be more of an overview, and we're trying to make this as succinct as possible. Just note that there are a lot more information we can provide, so if there's questions and follow-up, we're happy to do that as well. So don't think that this meeting is an end-all, be-all. Next slide, please. Just to quickly go through some pillars of our cabinet. Many of you are new, some of you have heard it, and many of you have seen and heard different bits and pieces of it. The overall goal and mission of our work of the Worker Empowerment Cabinet advances the well-being of Boston workers in the public and private sectors. We work with workers and employers to engage them in a more meaningful structure so that it could be a win-win for all stakeholders. We do this by setting the city's future policy and vision for workers. We regulate, oversee, and improve workplace conditions and health for workers and families here in Boston. And we are expanding economic opportunities for workers through quality jobs, skills training, and career pipelines. All of them are interconnected but very unique in a way in which we deliver outcomes and impact for the City of Boston residents. In April of 2023, the Boston Resident Jobs Policy Office moved from the Office of Supplier Diversity under Chief Idowu under Economic Development into labor compliance within the worker protection in our cabinet. And that is to just streamline, make it easier for the end users, for workers, and for businesses and employers who are working with us on compliance. And so there's 4 major departments. We're moving it into 3. One is obviously Office of Workforce Development. 2 is a Center for Working Families to provide credit building, and then also accessing earned income tax credits and other tools to move lower wage workers up the economic ladder. We've worked with child care tax credits to ensure that that gets into families and providing those services. Obviously, you'll hear more about the labor compliance and worker protections, and then everybody loves this piece. Not that you don't love other piece, but the Youth Employment and Opportunity Department that works on career exploration, mobility for young people, and of course, our summer jobs program. Next slide, please. And so in particular, we're going to hone in on one department that is relevant to this meeting and this hearing, which is connected to the Boston Resident Jobs Policy, which is the Office of Labor Compliance and Worker Protections, is Boston's central resource for workers. We protect and promote labor standards and policies that create fair workplaces for all workers. And just a caveat is that we can only do this work if we have deep partnerships and deep employer engagements. Every time when we do an ordinance, when we do a policy, when we move on certain action steps, we always engage employers because they need to be at the table when we're working with moving the workers to a better place. So there are several components within the labor compliance office. One is obviously we're here to talk about and update the BRJP. It sets hiring goals for Boston residents, people of color, and women on public development projects and private development projects over 50,000 square feet. A quick caveat is that we know that there is a lot of work to be done with BRJP. Our staff is working diligently to streamline back-end data collection, make it more efficient so we can report out, and we're working with employers and developers to see where that sweet spot is without compromising the integrity of the compliance and then our priority to residents and Boston residents and moving them into these relevant jobs. So while we engage with employers, we do not want to compromise the integrity of what we hold up and value for workers. You'll hear more about that. It is an ongoing process with BRJP, so kudos to staff to really go through all the increments of labor-intensive operational nuts and bolts to make it work every single day. The Boston Jobs Living Wage and Prevailing Wage Ordinance that requires all workers providing labor for a job contracted with the City of Boston over 20,000 or more be paid a living wage or at least $17.55 updated annually, and that building service workers be paid the prevailing wage. We've been working with that for over a decade. And it also requires first source hiring agreements. Again, we just don't want to do agreements and compliance tools. We want to make sure the practices work for workers and employers at the same time. Boston Wage Theft Executive Order requires contractors disclose any previous wage and hour violations during bidding process and leverages the authority of the Boston Licensing Board to ensure that employers are paying their workers lawfully. We are working towards an ordinance which has been directed by Mayor Wu. This is a priority of hers, as well as many other components of the cabinet and other agencies across the city. Kudos to Councilor Weber for working closely with us to make sure that we get it right for Boston workers. Obviously, many of you have worked to champion and shepherd through the construction and demolition safety ordinance. We don't have to tell you how important this is. Just a simple step of safety plans, training for OSHA, making sure everybody's on board. You've heard the recent one with Suffolk Construction and the South Station work. Work has been halted until all the safety plans have been reviewed. You've seen many other non-media work incidences where we want to ensure that developers and employers are providing safety plans for workers. Sometimes you don't see what's in front of you, and it doesn't mean we're not doing the work. What goes in the back end is extremely important. I mean, you'll hear more about the ways in which we have provided over 300 ISD workers, contractors, small contractors training on OSHA safety plans and a variety of things. No news is good news. So that means that workers are going back home safely to their families. So we want to make sure that sometimes a lot of that back end prevents worker accidents and lives in the front end. Obviously, outreach and education is extremely important to our office to ensure workers know their rights and how to access those rights. Some of you, or many of you, we've been working with your offices on the Know Your Rights deep into the community and having these resource fairs. One of the biggest benefits of these worker rights, Know Your Rights fairs is for those who are undocumented and those who don't speak, who speak a language other than English, because they sometimes they don't trust city government. Sometimes they don't, make those calls because they are afraid, and that's okay. What we do is work with partners to make sure that this information gets on the ground for those who we don't even see or those we are labeled as invisible. So our work and those fairs have phenomenal impact. So I want to thank every city council members who have been working with us to get the word out to these fairs throughout neighborhoods. Next slide. So here you are is one of the examples of our upcoming labor compliance and worker protections activities and events. Kind of goes through the dates here and where they are in various neighborhoods, who we collaborate with, worker centers, the Brazilian Worker Center, the Chinese Progressive Association, all of our partners who you're very familiar with. We work with you and your staff to get the word out in the community. And so we have some information and follow up if your office is interested in continuing the collaboration. And I'll stop there and hand it over to the next speaker, and I'm happy to answer additional questions. I'm going to stay on as long as I can, but our staff and panelists will be here to present and answer questions you may have. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Trent. Just briefly, I'd like to note that we've been joined by Councilors Ed Flynn and John Fitzgerald. And Trin, thank you so much for coming in and working with our office and being available. I hope next time we do this in October, you can stick around a little longer and look forward to working with you as we go forward.
So if we go to, Counselor, do you want us to go into the in-depth presentation on Boston Resident Jobs Policy compliance and data now?
I think so, yes. I think that would be help us. Yeah, you go ahead. Yeah.
Thank you. So if we go to the next slide, and I'm going to hand it over to Chris Brown, the manager of the Boston Resident Jobs Policy. We prepared, because we know there are some new counselors, a little bit of background on how we monitor compliance and the history of the Boston Resident Jobs Policies. We thought that context would be useful. So hand it over to you, Chris.
Excellent. Thanks, Jody. Good morning, counselors, stakeholders, and also the public. My name is Christopher Brown. I'm the manager of the Boston Residents Jobs Policy Program. So we're going to start off with a little history of the BRJP ordinance. The first BRJP ordinance was signed and approved in 1983, and it called for 50% of the total work hours and to be Boston residents, 25% of the total employee work hours to be for people of color, and 10% to be for women, and that would be for private developments over 100,000 square feet, and also for public projects. Next slide, please. So the ordinance has been updated and amended several different times since 1983. The most recent amended ordinance took place in January of 2017. And so it applies to projects that are over 50,000 square feet, private projects, and all public projects, projects that receive public funding. And so the goals are 51% Boston residents, 40% people of color, and 12% women. And also in the new ordinance, we also have what we call apprentice goals for all apprentices, and this is a way to encourage contractors to hopefully bring in the individuals that we're advocating for. And so those goals directly mirror the overall workforce goals of the 51% Boston resident, 40% people of color, and 12% women. Next slide, please. And also part of the 2017 ordinance, not only do we have an increased work hour percentages, but there's also something called 7 compliance measures that we enforce. And they would be attending pre-construction meetings, providing weekly certified payrolls, attending corrective action meetings, appearing at the Boston Employment Commission meeting, providing communications, confirmations, quality workforce projections, and other documents, providing referrals to the jobs bank, any individuals that walk up to construction sites seeking employment. There's an application process, and we would like those applications to make its way back to our jobs bank person. And also verifying Boston residents. So the ordinance can be enforced in terms of finding and penalties associated with these 7 efforts. The fines and penalties do not relate to the percentages that we have in place. So to the right, you can see fines to the maximum, fines to the maximum of $300 for each violation. A violation occurs where a general contractor, construction manager, or subcontractor has not complied with the ordinance. Each day of non-compliance would be considered a separate violation. Also, creation of a record of non-compliance with the city, with city policy that may be considered when awarding future construction contracts on city-funded projects. Next slide, please. All right, so currently on staff, we have 8 construction monitors, AKA compliance officers. On an average, we have about 120 construction projects per year. And so those compliance officers are responsible for not only measuring the 7 compliance efforts that contractors have to adhere to, but also, of course, the work hours, the workforce percentages are 51, 40, and 12. So we have 4 different public projects that are public departments for the public projects that are subject to us, the BRJP office, in terms of monitoring. Those line departments, those departments are the Mayor's Office of Housing, formerly Department of Neighborhood Development, and the compliance monitors for that department are Robert Woodson and Celso Ribeiro. Then we also have the Public Facilities Department, and Manuel Barboza is the compliance officer for that department, which also includes the public schools. Then we have Parks and Recreation. Patricia Maggiogla is the compliance officer for that department, and Public Works would be Nelson Cunha. And so we also have private projects that we oversee, and those are the projects that are over 50,000 square feet. And so there's a mixture of monitors that oversee those projects, and it will be Pamela Rufo, Celso Ribeiro, Patricia, Nelson Cunha, Stacy Watson, and Takara Hamilton. Next slide, please. All right, this is just a little graph of, just a visual of the BRJP ordinance compliance monitoring process. It just gives you all the different steps that we go through when we're monitoring a project, and we just do this over and over again, each time we get a new project. All right, next slide, please. All right, so now we're going to move on to the Boston Resident Jobs Policy Compliance data. So the data that you're looking at is for the last 6 months. And that would be from October 1st, 2023 up until March 31st of 2024. We had 96 overall active projects. 24 of those projects were private projects. Those are usually the downtown projects, the projects that are in the Seaport area, the large projects that are over 100,000 square feet. And we had 72 City of Boston projects. And those are the public projects. Those projects in some way, either entirely or a portion of those projects, were somehow funded by taxpayer money, taxpayer funds. So 16 of those projects were from the Public Facilities Department. Those are city buildings. 17 from Parks and Recreation. 14 from Public Works. That would be the streets and sidewalks. And 25 from the Mayor's Office of Housing, and that would be for the affordable housing. And so there's a breakdown here of the private projects and the public projects, and also give you an overall total. So for private projects, we had about 2,600,000 overall work hours, and we came in at 22% Boston resident, 34% people of color, and 7% women. For the public projects, 790,000 hours, 21% Boston resident, 40% people of color, and 6% women. And so the grand total is we had about 3,500,000 overall work hours. 21% Boston resident, 35% people of color, and 7% women. Next slide, please. All right, so just to give you a little breakdown of the neighborhoods that those projects that I just went over, give you a breakdown of where those projects are located. So Dorchester, being the largest neighborhood every year, usually is at the the top in terms of projects. It ended up having 15. Austin Brighton, we're seeing a lot more work in the Austin Brighton area for both affordable housing and a couple of private projects as well. And so Roxbury, we had 11. So if you look at the last category, various locations, 15. So that would be projects that are in more than one neighborhood, and that would be primarily public works projects. You might have a contract. One contract consists of different neighborhoods, so they're paving streets in Roxbury and Dorchester, for example. But it would be considered one contract, aka one project. Next slide, please. All right, so this gives you a breakdown of all the public projects in the departments. So Mayor's Office of Housing, we had 277,000 hours, 23% Boston resident, 58% people of color, 4% women. Then we had Parks, about 19,000 work hours, 13% Boston resident, 23% people of color, 5% women. Public Facilities, 465,000 hours, 20% Boston resident, 31% people of color, 7% women. Then we had the Public Works Department with 27,000 hours, almost 28,000, with 27% Boston resident, 36% people of color, and 4% women. Next slide, please. All right, so this is my favorite set of data here. So this data goes back from 1989 up until 2023. So about 25 years or so of data. Well, 35? Well, I think 35, right? 35 years of data here. The program started in 1983. We were able to put together numbers from 1989. And so the first year, we had, first year of the program, 1,300,000 hours, and the numbers came in at 36% Boston resident, 26% people of color, and 3% female. And so you can see all the different years when the program, in the start, beginning of the program, we were up 36%, the Boston resident numbers, the percentage were, in the 40s, high 30s. And if you just take a look at the women percentages, we were down at, 3%, 4%, 5% in the early years. Next slide, please. So you have continuation of the numbers throughout the years. So you're looking at 2000 up until 2011. The work hours increased. So the program started off with like 1.5 million hours, and we ended up, getting more projects. And so we went up, 3 million hours, 4 million hours. One thing I would like to point out on this page is if you look at 2011, that's when we, if you can recall, that when we had the economic downturn. And so it's reflected in the hours that the overall hours for 2011, we were down to like 1.5 million hours. Next slide, please. Okay, so now you're looking at from calendar year 2012 to 2023. And as you can see, the economy turned around, the work hours went up. And so the most work hours that we've seen, according to the data that you're looking at, is in 2019. We had almost 8.5 million work hours, and that seems to be the most, according to the data that we have on hand. And also another item I would like to point out is the fact that the women percentages have gone up. And, that's kind of impressive, given that the overall work hours have went up as well, and the overall women percentages have gone up. Not at 12%, still a ways to go, but we have seen, those women percentages have been increasing over time. Next slide, please. All right, so we got a nice chart here for you. So it shows, you know, the work hours that we have. It gives you the overall work hours. And as you can see, the downturn again in 2011, how the hours dipped in 2009, 2013, and then they went up dramatically in 2015 and 2019, and so forth and so on. All right, next slide, please. So this is just so we are able to break data down in a number of different ways. So what you're looking at now is what we call the 5-year people of color data. So this is only for the work hours performed by people of color, and it's for the calendar years of 2019, 2020, all the way up to 2023. And so in terms of people of color, according to the data that we have, 55% of the people of color work hours have been performed by Hispanic/Latino, and then African Americans, 37%. And then you have the other races and ethnicities that follows. Next slide, please. So I think that would conclude, for now, my portion of my testimony.
Thanks so much, Chris, and thank you, counselors. I'm going to briefly go through some of the questions that were asked regarding sanctions. First, just an overview of the ordinance and what it says about sanctions. Essentially, the BEC, the Boston Employment Commission, has the ability to issue sanctions on developers, general contractors, construction managers, and subcontractors found to be in noncompliance. Penalties and fines, as we said, up to $300 per day. And another piece is that we can create a record of noncompliance that can be considered when awarding future construction contracts. Next slide. So there are 3 ways a contractor or project can meet the Boston Resident Jobs Policy requirements. One is, first and foremost, meeting the workforce standards. And as you saw from the data, it's pretty rare to see a project meet the full 51% guidelines. We see closer to the people of color 40% or women percentages, but if folks meet those standards, then they're in compliance. The other is meeting the administrative factors that we've outlined a few times. And then finally, if a contractor can demonstrate high impracticality of meeting BRJP standards in advance of the start of the project, they can agree to sponsor a specific number of new apprenticeships as part of that project. However, the penalties and fines are based on the administrative factors because of the probable constitutional challenges that arise on the basis of equal protection. So because we cannot fine or issue violations based on contractors or projects meeting the actual hiring goals, we focus on those administrative standards. Next slide. So again, we've gone through these, but we have a compliance determination rubric with those 7 sanctionable violations. A contractor fails to attend a pre-construction meeting, fails to provide communications as requested, fails to provide referrals to the Boston Resident Jobs Policy per the ordinance, fails to provide weekly payrolls, documentation of Boston residency, failure to attend a corrective action meeting, or failure to appear before the Boston Employment Commission. And for the last year, we've really focused in on late payroll. As you know, our submission of payroll is a really critical way for us to monitor the compliance with the policy. It's how we get all the data that is input into our system. So we've really looked closely at late payroll as one of the real measures for sanctions. Next slide. And until February of 2023, the BEC had never actually issued sanctions. Now, I want to say that the BEC had negotiated, had findings of noncompliance, and in fact negotiated with contractors for payments to apprenticeship programs and other programs to offset their noncompliance, but the first sanctions were issued in February of 2023. My predecessor, former BRJP director Andre Lima, worked with the BEC on a sanctions policy, which was put in place in November 2022. And using that, the staff and Director Andre Lima at the time put together a recommendations for sanctions for 3 projects where subcontractors had a pattern of late payroll submissions. And you can see those there. At the time, the BEC voted to sanction just the 9 Leland Street project, Kaplan Construction, and we do make the general contractor is responsible for their subcontractors. And the sanctions were based on the work of just 2 of their subcontractors, which were Dykeman and Bridgeline. And a lot of the reason the focus was put on those 2 subcontractors was because they were not meeting BRJP hiring goals, but also had a pattern of late payroll. And both appealed their fines. The BEC voted to lower the fines for one, but not the other. And Kaplan paid their $17,000 fines in July. Next slide. So we wanted to move on from here. We have with us a researcher from the Boston Planning Development Agency because the Boston Employment Commission has asked on numerous occasions, what's the impact of our non-compliance of these contractors and projects not meeting the hiring goals that the BRJP has set. So, however, I believe Michael has not been promoted to a panelist yet. Michael and Dali.
I'm here.
You're here.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you. So I'm going to hand it over to Michael, who will run through these slides. And then I have some brief information on the Jobs Bank and the Boston Employment Commission before we open it up for questions and comments from counselors. So thanks so much. And I'll hand it over to you, Michael.
Thank you so much, Jody. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for having me. My name is Michael Ndala. I'm a senior data scientist here at the BPDA Research Division. So as Jody said, we were asked to look at the economic impact of compliance directly to our residents in terms of number of hours worked and then potential income. At the same time, due to that increased economic activity, due to the increase in income, how will be overall impact to the city's economy. So my colleagues, Matt Rediger and Kevin Kang, conducted the analysis and wrote the memo, but unfortunately they couldn't be here, and I'm stepping here to explain their work. So as I said, we were asked 2 questions. So we saw non-compliance in pretty much all the trades. Then what would be the direct impact, right? The extra hours and wage that could have been earned to our residents instead of letting it spill over to other regions. And then the indirect impact, as I said, the additional impact having those wages accrued to our residents and that increased activity within the city. Next slide, please. So the first question is, are we compliant? And the simple answer is no. Only 21% of tracked hours worked by Boston residents in calendar year 2023. And then among the trades with more than 1,000 hours worked, no trade met the 51% Boston resident requirement, and only 9.6% met the 12% women requirement, and 32.7% met the 40% people of color requirement. So in the next slide, I'll show you the hours worked by trade. And as you can see, pretty much no compliance in all the trades. And then, I mean, one interesting point is also like the lowest percentage of works worked by our residents. In the third column, as you can see, some of them are on high-paying jobs like elevator construction, for example, only 11%, but high-paying job. So overall, 8.2 million total hours worked and only 21% on average. Next slide, please. And then we asked, then what if the BRJP policy had been complied with? So we bumped all the trades to 51% for Boston residents and 12% and 40% for women, people of color. And the third column will show you the additional hours Boston residents could have worked and total income in each trade. So in the next slide, I have a summary there. So 2.5 million construction hours would be available to Boston residents, and that would translate into roughly $103.4 million of wage for our residents. So this is a direct impact. Going to the next slide, now we asked ourselves, can we calculate the indirect impact, right? So in order to do that, we used a famous model, RAMI, Regional Economic Modeling Policy Insight methodology, which calculates the impact of any shock into the economy and then its potential outcome within a specific geography and the nearby geographies as well, meaning in Boston and Suffolk County and in the state as well. So on the next slide then, the question will be, do we have enough workers available to take on the 2.5 million available hours, right? So the first kind of upper bound scenario is like, yes, we have, if we say like we have workers available to do that, which is then either from underemployed or unemployed, because in order to be in the labor force, you have to be either willing, available, and ready to work, right? So, and which means then we're not sacrificing any wages. There's no substitution. We're just, letting people who are working less to bump into those additional hours. And kind of the lower bound scenario is all the additional hours would be worked by Boston residents working at Massachusetts minimum wage. So seeing the, opportunity to work in high-paying wage, they would transition, but we have to take out the 15 hours. The $15 per hour they would sacrifice in order to move to those positions. And the third scenario we looked at is the one in between. Now we know the upper bound and the lower bound, so in between. So in order to make kind of this preferred, we call it preferred estimate, we used the ACS 5-year ACS 2017 and this should be changed, 2018 to 2022 ACS. And then according to that, then 20% of construction workers in Boston worked less than 40 hours, and roughly about 13% worked substantially less than 40 hours. So we assumed 15% of workers could come from those groups, and then the additional 15% could come from unemployed workers, and then the remaining 70% hours could be filled by low-wage workers. So we run this simulation in RAMI, and on the next slide you will see the results. So the upper bound scenario shows us about $83.2 million will be added to the city's gross city product, which is the value of all final goods and services produced in the city, and would result in additional 607 induced and indirect jobs because of this increased economic activity, and there will be additional $167.4 million to our residents. So this is the upper bound scenario, and the lower bound, so this is assuming all workers could come from those who are working minimum wage, mostly in service sectors, $15 an hour. So we have to take that income out. So we will be seeing close to $60 million added to our GCP, and 436 indirect and induced jobs will be added to the city, and $120 million of increased income to our residents. In our preferred scenario, which I summarized in the next slide, so this preferred scenario, as I said, 15% coming from construction workers, either underemployed or substantially working less in construction, and 15% coming from unemployed, and 70% coming from minimum wage workers. So this will give us 487 indirect and induced jobs, primarily coming from local consumption demand increase because of this extra wage increase. Because every workers, we go to the restaurant or buy a coffee, you're generating it's multiplier impact on the economy. So we'll have that much jobs created, additional jobs, and 134 million wage increase for Boston residents, and $66.9 million increase to our gross city product. So as a conclusion, on next slide. So because of the building trades in Boston are highly paid, and there is a large gap, as we saw in observed hours data and the BRGB target, so the economic impact of fully meeting these targets is large, and the direct impact of these, gaining the opportunity to work in construction sector will be large, and as I said, we'll see over 480 jobs, indirect and induced, and Boston, an additional $60 million wage accrued to Boston residents. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Michael, and to the BPDA. It's so important to have the context for why we are doing this work and the potential for real impact if we get it right. You can go to the next slide. I just want to say a little bit about the jobs bank as well. Next slide. This was the Boston Resident Jobs Policy Jobs Bank is right in the ordinance. It requires that we set up a jobs bank through which city residents can be referred, people of color and women, and there are requirements for both our contractors and, our construction monitors as well as contractors. If you go to the next slide. So our construction monitors utilize the jobs bank to refer Boston residents and people of color where appropriate, but most importantly, contractors, all Boston residents, people of color and women applying directly to those contractors or subcontractors who are not employed are supposed to be referred to the jobs bank, and we should receive a written record of that. And the contractors also have to maintain a current file, the name, address, and phone number of each Boston resident, person of color, and woman who sought employment or who was referred to the BRJP and not hired. So we are working really hard to try to improve compliance in this front. And if you can go to the next slide. This is how it works. Candidates are recruited from partners, stakeholders. We have a QR code that allows candidates to register right on their smartphone. A smart link was also developed to take candidates to the BRJP website with options to register, and you've been provided all those links. Once they're registered, our jobs bank coordinator does get in contact with them within 48 hours, and they're asked to submit a resume and information on their credentials. And all of those candidates receive not just information on job opportunities, but training, education, apprenticeship opportunities, and more. Next slide. Contractors that reach out to the jobs bank are forwarded a labor request form, which is completed. It's a Google Doc, so we can track that, where then appropriate resumes are forwarded to the contractor and follow-up emails are made. And next slide. So this is a big part of it is obviously we need to both ensure that we have folks on the jobs bank as well as ensure that our contractors are reaching out to us. So to do that, the jobs bank holds hiring events and job fairs. Our most recent job fair that coordinator Janine McLaren put on had 80 attendees with 26 vendors, including 6 union apprenticeship programs and 6 training programs. Jobs Bank has tabled at 13 events since September. They have monthly roundtable meetings with community stakeholders, and you can see the list of partnerships here on the slide. And in one of our newer initiatives, we are going to be holding 2 OSHA 10 classes. For a lot of workers, having the OSHA 10 certification, especially for public projects, is one of the barriers. So we're using that to provide important safety training while at the same time reducing a barrier to employment and also recruiting people to the jobs bank. So we are planning right now for 2 OSHA 10 classes that the jobs bank will be doing this spring. Next slide. And here's, as I was saying, we're really trying to work on improving compliance here. So our job bank coordinator is now attending pre-construction meetings wherever appropriate. We are targeting outreach to BRJP covered contractors and subcontractors. We've got a list of all of those contractors who are part or being monitored by the program, including their DEI and hiring managers. And similar to efforts that we've been putting together to document and provide information to the Boston Employment Commission on late payroll, we are trying to work on a process and a dashboard to have better information about use of the BRJP jobs bank, and of course, continuing to expand outreach strategies. Next slide. And finally, just a few quick updates on the Boston Employment Commission. Next slide. I am happy to report that as of this city council hearing, we are now at a full, we have all members appointed, and the list of our Boston Employment Commission members are here. And next slide. Next slide, please. And the meetings are the third Wednesday of every month, except in June, where that is conflicting with Juneteenth. We're moving it to June 26th. You can find all the agendas, minutes, handouts, everything on the Boston Employment Commission website. And I just compiled here a list over the last 6 months of the projects and special presentations that the Boston Employment Commission has reviewed. So just to give a sense of the background, special presentations are the where when a project is set to begin and we're not yet at 25%, 50% or 75% completion, and it's meant to give an opportunity to lay out the initial outreach strategies for the project and give the Boston Employment Commission opportunity to weigh in. And project reviews are where we actually are reviewing a project. Construction funders prepare a report detailing the progress of meeting hiring goals and if they're meeting all of the administrative components of the law as well. So those are the projects that we've reviewed. We also are working very hard to try to really improve the way that we move towards recommending sanctions. And one of the first pieces of that is upgrades to our Salesforce database, which we're working on over the next few months as well. And also planning for a new program in FY25. And this was the idea of construction monitors the construction monitors are on the ground, they're on site, they know what works and doesn't work, and we're going to be creating a series of webinars where construction monitors will talk through best practices on what they've seen is working well to meet the goals of the Boston Resident Jobs Policy, and allow folks to ask questions and engage with our construction monitors. I think next slide, I'll end it here. That was a lot of information. We're ready to answer your questions. And as Chief Nguyen said, we have so much more information we could provide. So but we're ready to answer any and all questions. Thank you so much for your patience as we made it through that presentation.
Thank you for the presentation, Jody. I am going to hand it over to my colleagues to ask questions in order of appearance. I had a quick question before just on the data. So in terms of the residents being hired, that number was over 21%, which is just way below the number. My question for you is, and looking at the data, it looks like we had more hours worked, in 2018, 2019, and a higher percentage. So I feel like there's enough capacity to have a higher number of Boston residents being hired. But what is your sense from the data? Are we missing that target by so much because people are looking outside, are hiring outside the city? Or is part of it, or how much of that is driven by we don't have the right infrastructure here and training for Boston residents? So how do we look at the numbers for that?
Yeah, I think the answer is a little both, but Manager Chris Brown has 30 years of the program, and I think has the best perspective to be able to answer that question.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you, Jody. So, excellent question. So, I think there's a couple of things going on. I think in some cases, one of the things that we have with the new Salesforce database is we're able to track trends, right? And so one of the things that I think is going on is that, people are moving out. We know not only in this profession, but all professions, right? For whatever reason, moving out, cheaper housing or whatever. But I also think that you might have a person that, lives with their mom, they get a good job in the trades, and they end up buying a house outside of Boston, right? And that's positive, right? In terms of for that person to be able to build wealth, become a homeowner. But in terms of the numbers that we have here, right, it has a negative impact. So I think some of that might be happening. Also, I think training is part of it. I think the outreach, the training part, reaching out to individuals who might not be interested in going to college and letting them know that, hey, listen, this is a way that you can earn a good living as well. And I think that's one of the big emphasis that we're having now. And I think especially with the BRJP office moving into the worker empowerment cabinet, there's a lot of outreach efforts, and there's a lot of stipends, and the OSHA training, and just basic plain old outreach, just letting the person know who doesn't know about construction, right? Especially from a lot of neighborhoods. They might know about carpenters, laborers, but they don't know anything about an elevator constructor or a power driver. So the outreach is important. But yeah, so you're correct. The percentages have went down with Boston residents, but I must say the people of color percentages they've gone up over the years. We're running in the high 30s. So we've seen increases in other categories, and also the women, as I pointed out earlier, we've seen an increase in that area. But you're right, we have seen a decrease in the Boston resident percentages. And again, I think there's a number of different factors involved. And I think with the new database that we have, the Salesforce, I think that's going to be important for making policy, tracking trends. Are people really moving out buying houses? Is there availability of workers? Is there a lack of workers? Do we need to get more people trained? So I think the software is important in terms of tracking the trends.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Trent. I see you're back and your hand is raised.
Yeah, sorry. Thanks so much. This is so important to us. Just quickly, I agree with my colleague, Chris. But we looked at that as well. So a couple of things. One is that we think COVID had a lot to do with it, because when it was shut down after, I think, 2019 for a short period of time, there were a lot of transitions in career mobility in different industries, not just construction. So one of it could be that folks could move out of the city at that time but didn't return. But the other piece, I think, that speaks directly to the trades and to the training is that one is that we've had numerous conversations with our colleagues from labor, specifically from the trades, that we need an increase of apprenticeship slots for each of the trades. So I think we've been in various conversations that it just can't be a smaller number, and that they would need to have to demonstrate to us and show how we can increase that, because it can't just be the argument of, oh, the economy is slowing down or development has been slowing down, we haven't had a lot of permits. Because if you look over the 20-year, even if you look at the 20-year span or the 10-year span, that argument has always been in play. And so, at least I have been in conversations with the trades to say we need to increase that slot. The other piece that we have been talking to them about is, I know that we have this Building Pathways, which is a registered apprenticeship program, have been around for about 10 to 12 years. The number is too small in scale for us. We need to move directly towards we know Boston residents are eligible, they're ready to go straight to the trades and don't need a pre-apprenticeship. So we've had a conversation in the last 6 to 9 months to a year to say we need direct pipelines. We have people who are ready to be electricians. They don't need to be in a pre-apprenticeship program. They need to go forward. And every time when you put a marker to have workers or potential lower wage workers add another 6 weeks or 8 weeks or 6 months to pre-training, that takes away from their wages. And we know that they have 2 to 3 jobs, and unless it's a paid training that they can go to and put food on the table, they're going to go after those 2 or 3 jobs and not the training that doesn't pay while they're in training. So we've had conversations with the feds, the city, and local government to say that the training dollars that we're getting has to be flexible enough to provide stipends and learn and earn models for participants who will leave their low wage jobs to come here and train so they can get a better future. So we're having those conversations, and we know it's hard. It's been slow in trying to move people's thinking and practice, but we recognize that we have to move towards some hard conversations and hard practices.
Okay, thank you. Now I'll just hand it over to my colleagues in order of arrival, starting with Madam President Louis Jen. Oh, and Trin, you can lower your hand if you have that power.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Chair Weber, and thank you to the administration for being here. We held hearings, myself sponsoring hearings on the BRJP for the last, during my first term. And Councilor Weber, glad to see you picking this up and glad to continue to co-sponsor this. I think there's a wealth of information that I wanted to address. And Chief Nguyen, I want to thank you because I know that you stated that you had 20 minutes on only at the beginning, and you're still here dedicating your time to this very important discussion. And you also mentioned that this is just a check-in and that the work is not just in these hearings. So I just want to thank you because you make that so evident. I think you presented during the last BRJP hearing that we had last term in October, the economic impact analysis. And it was incredible. I thought it was just an important way to show what we as a city of Boston are missing out on in terms of wages, particularly when it comes to our Boston residents. I do want to, Chris Brown, I think you highlighted that the progress that we've been making on the people of color numbers, although in the spirit of those who came before, Chuck Turner, and advocating, making sure that our residents, especially our Roxbury residents, had access to these jobs. Our Black and Brown residents need to make sure that when we disaggregate the data, the numbers around the color of people data is still where we want it to be and is meeting the original intent of the Boston Residents Job Policy. But I hear everything that Chief Nguyen said. When I look at the economic impact analysis, I see, wow, housing is really expensive and people are moving out of the city. I'm wondering, what are the additional thoughts that you all have around increasing those Boston resident percentages that seem to be going down? I'm thinking about the redevelopment. I was over at Madison Park last week, the redevelopment of Madison Park, and how we are figuring that into in the city's commitment and everyone's commitment to that redevelopment, how that's figuring into what, like the idea of bringing up, if we are really investing in a new Madison Park in a rich and robust voc tech, we get those Boston percentages up, right? We get those people of color numbers up, and maybe we get those women percentage numbers up. So just wanted to hear your own thoughts on what we're doing to address and attack the Boston residents question, and also how we're figuring Madison Park into the equation.
I can start, and then Tran and Chris, please jump in. I think one piece that's really important is we really recognize that the Green New Deal for Boston is going to play a big role in this, and BPS in particular. There are lots of opportunities. The projects outlined and the money being invested are all connected to construction. And that's going to expand the opportunities for hopefully Boston residents that, as Trin said, at a larger scale than 30 or 40 a year. And we're really being very thoughtful about how we look at the opportunities that the Green New Deal projects bring to ensure that we're using the Boston resident jobs policy and every tool in our tool belt to ensure that Boston residents, and especially Madison Park graduates, are first in line for those jobs. It's really a big part of our implementation of that work. And I don't know, Chief and Chris, anything you'd want to add to that?
Chris, do you have something to say? If not, I'll quickly chime in. I think that's a great question. One of the things I do want to say, and every time when we work in this workforce development space, is that there's no easy, quick, fast boot camp to a career pathway. So we need to train now. And one of the things we're doing is we have a task force with the mayor and Madison Park, Friends of Madison Park, stakeholders, to engage in how we envision the redevelopment of Madison Park, both in terms of the built environment for Madison Park and also programmatically. We're looking at growth projections, we're looking at jobs and growth industries, and we're using it as tools to drive programming. I mean, I think that's where we are right now. Should we have done it 10, 15 years ago, 20 years ago? Sure. But it's, you know, it's, we have to start now, especially with the Green New Deal. We don't want to, you know, miss the train on that for our young people and career pathways in construction. I also want to caveat by saying that we have been in conversations with the Boston Housing Authority, Suffolk Construction, major HYM, major developers, to start really including hardcore metrics into their procurement bidding documents within the rightful legal framework. And I caution that the articulation of that legal framework, because we have to be very careful. The other piece is that
like the Massport model, right? In the
correct. I mean, like, this is not
Within the legal
stem cell
procurement.
research. I mean, like, a lot of this is not stem cell research. This is about working with various departments and show that other models around the state have done similar work, which is why we have shifted our thinking that we're no longer about just outputs, since this has moved into our worker empowerment cabinet. We're not just interested in documenting hours and numbers as outputs. We want to make a case to say there's an economic opportunity loss if we don't do it the right way. And if we don't start doing that and you've seen Michael's economic impact report, and you've seen the one that's last year. So we're going to keep banging that as a dominant narrative to say that, look what happens if we don't go this route. There's an economic opportunity loss for Boston residents. Therefore, they cannot get housing, get access to quality education and safety nets so they can live in Boston. So we're kind of shifting that public narrative to make it a business case and an economic opportunity loss if we miss the train again.
Yeah, I think that.
Yep, sorry, Madam President, I neglected to mention that we're going to put a 5-minute limit on questions, but I failed to mention that at the beginning. If you have another question, you know, maybe one more, and then we'll move on.
Thank you. I have a few, but I'll just ask this one. The trades, you mentioned the apprenticeship program, you mentioned the pre-apprenticeship program, building pathways. I was at their graduation a few weeks ago. I think it's incredible, but I also take what you said to heart, right? these apprenticeship programs, a lot of them in January, and we try to share it as much as we can with community. I'm curious to know how do you all get that information about apprenticeships out to community, to our Boston residents, to our women, to our people of color? Like, are you working? Is there a plan either at BRJP and at the Office of Worker Empowerment to be intentional, understanding BRJP, understanding what you're saying about the apprenticeship, about letting people know about these apprenticeship dates and the application? Sometimes it requires people, you can't just do it very quickly. And so are we being intentional and targeted? I know my little, world of city councilor at large, I try my best, but what is the city actually doing with our trades and our unions who, talk to them, and they have a desire to diversify, and all of them are working at different speeds. If you look at the numbers for the laborers and the electricians, great numbers, compared to the other, to some other trades. What are you doing to help share the word about these apprenticeship programs as early as possible with the populations that we are trying to target with BRJP?
I'll jump in, and thank you so much for the question, because it's super important. And I'm really proud over the last year of the work of our jobs bank to connect more with the apprenticeship programs, and the fact that our jobs fair for the Boston Resident Jobs Policy had 8 of those programs at the jobs fair. We are consistently keeping track of the application deadlines, the timelines, and sending that out through the Boston Resident Jobs Policy, Jobs Bank, and all the folks on the Jobs Bank, because we want folks into those pathways, right? We want to make sure that we're building pathways to the building trades and apprenticeships. We also share that out through worker empowerment newsletters and other kinds of information through our cabinet level communications, but we're very specific for those who've reached out to the Jobs Bank or part of the Jobs Bank and partners with the Jobs Bank to collect that information and get it out as soon as possible.
Yeah, we also have 100 grantee partners in Boston, in which we get that information across through our community partners. We also do it through our 6 tuition-free community college program, in addition to that 100 partnership. And since we are a fiscal agent and operators of 2 of the largest mass hires career centers in the state, which serves approximately 8,000 to 15,000 residents through various touch points, we get that out through the career centers. Now these outreach mechanisms are in the thousands. So if there's only 12 slots, what do you think? I mean, it needs to be a little more robust from different entities to market in a way that is scalable, provides benefits, not 10 years ago or not 12 years ago, but provide accurate benefits for workers now, because it's times have changed after COVID. And, while the economy is doing well and inflation somewhat, it ticked up last quarter, went down from, 2 years ago, it's still a lot for a family of 4 doing lower wage and working 2 or 3 jobs. So they're not going to leave that one job for a training program of 12 months or 6 months when I don't know if I'm going to get into that trades, and it doesn't pay while I'm training. So that's a difficult choice. And the slots are small. They're like 12 per training cycle. So if it's in the thousands and you're working a lot, maybe it's very discouraging if your chances of getting in is small. So we're working with building pathways in the trades to kind of modernize the way they outreach to an average worker in Boston, because times have changed.
Okay, sorry, Madam President, I have to cut you off there.
That's fine.
Thank you. We have been...
Counselor, I believe, it's fine. I believe I saw Priscilla's hand up, but I think it might, I don't know if she's on this panel or another panel, but.
Yeah, so we will be joined by a panel of advocates. Priscilla, you're part of that panel once we're done with this panel. And so I'm just going to move on. We have been joined by Councilor Sharon Durkin and Councilor Fernandez Anderson. Next up is going to be Councilor Pepin. Councilor Mejia, you're on deck. So 5 minutes, Councilor Pepin.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for hosting this, and thank you to the panelists for joining us today. It's good to see you, Chief Nguyen. Thank you for all the work that you and your team does on a daily basis. Thank you, and also thank you for the presentation today. It was good to learn of all the things you guys are doing. My first question is regarding vocational training and just workforce training for youth. I'm a big fan of the Madison Park Vocational Tech High School, but I also am a firm believer that we should expanding those programs elsewhere as well. If it's either more the different high schools in BPS or just our BCYF centers or just anywhere that youth organize. Have you all been thinking about unique ways of expanding those programs? Just because I remember being in high school, I went to the O'Brien, so right next door to Madison, but we didn't get any vocational training, but a lot of my friends wanted to be mechanics. Some of my friends wanted to open up a beauty shop, but didn't have that option. What can you share that the city is doing at the moment?
I'll just quickly add, and my colleagues can jump in. We're working with, well, first we want to start out with Madison Park. There are other Chapter 74 programs, maybe not registered within a variety of Boston Public High Schools. So we are working with high schools, but we are focusing on Madison Park. So we're doing more in dual enrollment, articulation agreements with community colleges to make sure that they're getting credits for what they're studying in high schools that transfers to either an associate degree or a bachelor's degree. We're also working with the trades to integrate their first year apprenticeship curriculum into the actual high school, so they're not repeating the same training, same high school curriculum. So how do you make it efficient for young people and engage them in a way that's more hands-on, but not lose the academic integrity of what Boston Public Schools need for that high school to graduate? Internships, learn and earn models that are not specifically with the trades, which could take 4 to 5 years. For young people, and I know that everybody's conversations around 4-year degrees, or do we need it? Do we don't, does it take that long? It's very expensive. We want all alternatives and all vocational pathways to good careers and paying jobs for young people. But make no mistake, young people, they're very young. And so what we want to do is steer young people into post-secondary education, because we know that the data suggests that anyone with a post-secondary education or college education will get higher paying jobs. So we want to include that as an option for young people. We also want to make sure that the vocational pathways are just not boot camps, 12 weeks, 2 weeks, that is licensed industry and certifications that allow them to take that degree or certification and build on their career pathways as they're moving, because they're still very young. So those are some of the tools that we're working on. Could we do a better job? Probably. Are there more for young adults and those who are just high school? Absolutely. We're focusing on 18 to 24. We're focusing on combining ESOL and adult basic education with the trades, so that they can build some credentials while learning English. So all of that is being combined. Is it faster, or is it at a faster pace than we'd like it? Probably not. Is it frustrating for the bureaucracy to work with the state to transfer credits and to do articulation agreements? Yes, it's very frustrating. Are we there? Probably not. But we share your vision of accessibility and equity for all ages for Boston residents.
And I'll add, there's a compliance side to this too. And we know that it's really frustrating to issue $300 sanctions based on late payroll. But there is an opportunity in a history of the Boston Employment Commission looking at those who've been out of compliance at the end of a project and saying, you know what, you need to be investing in the pipeline and working with them around compliance that is negotiated investment into the pipeline programs to provide the much needed resources to expand and ensure that we have what we need to get as many young people in as possible.
Yeah, I mean, I just concur what Jody and Chris talked about in terms of sanctions. We don't want to, it doesn't benefit us to slap someone on the wrist and have them pay like 10 grand. So we actually work with developers and talk to them and say, hey, we know that you're out of compliance. We need you to start investing in other pipelines that that will benefit the residents of Boston in this industry. So we work with them on a tailored approach, and employers to get them engaged to say, here are other ways in which you can engage and involve, and not necessarily just compliance. I know compliance and sanctions are really important. Don't get me wrong. That's a priority of ours, but also working with employers to make sure we get the maximum impact for our Boston residents remains the utmost priority for this administration and for our cabinet.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Penn. Councilor Mejia, you are up. Councilor Worrell, you are on deck. 5 minutes, Councilor Mejia.
Thank you, Chair Weber, and hello. Bye. Y'all ready for this? You know what I'm going to ask you all about, right? Where's my dashboard at? I know it's pending. What's going on? Who I gotta yell at? Give me the process. What's the timeline? When are we gonna get this dashboard, Chris?
So I could say, like, we have dashboard of the Boston Resident Jobs Policy data and we're working also on building out a dashboard on compliance related to BRJP. And I know we have our folks within the cabinet working on that sort of broader, how many people are employed in what industry, and that work is continuing with our Director of Research and Evaluation. But we can give you BRJP data in dashboard on our website anytime.
No, I appreciate that, and I know that. I guess, like, for me, it's really getting into the weeds of that data. Like, for example, I always want to know if there's a way, if someone doesn't get a job. Right? I've always asked this in every hearing that I've with you all, and I still feel a bit unsure or unclear about the feedback loop, right? Because you don't know what you don't know. And so what would be helpful to have is some sort of mechanism or some sort of infrastructure in which we are able to provide people with real-time feedback, or where people are able to sort through the data. And I think, Jody, I really do appreciate all of the efforts. And I have driven by work sites that are the same usual suspects who are still occupying the space. And so we have an amazing opportunity to really start thinking a little bit more aggressively in terms of data collection, and when we know how we're going to hold people, especially the usual suspects, accountable to showing up in ways that help support this particular ordinance. So can someone talk to me about that?
I don't know what's appropriate in terms of procedural, because for time's sake, we'd love to just give you an update at a separate meeting on what we've been doing in terms of collecting those data and beta testing the dashboards. We've been working very closely with the BPDA economists and research departments. We've been aggregating data around a larger dashboard on what jobs are available in Boston and what the growth industries look like. We have that. It's not public yet, and we've developed tools. In fact, we're doing a soft launch on May the 15th, I believe, or May the 20th, on tools that are developed for this dashboard. So we're happy to give you an update on the bits and pieces that we've been working to produce this dashboard. You know, I'm not surprised, but everything in bureaucracies and city government takes a very long time. We know that this is a priority. It has already been said at hearings, so we've been working on it. However, it's just been very slow going through the checkpoints and getting that information public. So we are working on a dashboard. We have tools. We've done that. We've had a memo, internal memos. We've been meeting with labor economists. We've been trying to drill down a lot of what could be public and what doesn't overwhelm the reader of the dashboard and what makes sense for end users. So we've engaged in IT departments, labor economists, data, metrics, what's required, what's not, what's useful. So we have all of that. We just don't have an end product to launch yet. We have tools that we'll be launching in mid-May. So happy to update you on it. I just didn't want you to think that we didn't
I hear you.
that we were slacking off. We are working
I
on
know.
it, but it's not as easy as I'd like it to be.
I hear that, and I know that my time is going to be up soon, but I just want to, again, just reaffirm my desire for such. Every single hearing that I've participated in since I've stepped foot into this space, and this is my entering my fourth year, I've always asked for this, and it just feels like I'm ready to failure to launch. I just want to see it. I think it's going to be a great tool. I guess that the other question that I have before I get put on mute is I'm curious about your collaboration with other nonprofit organizations. One thing is the trades, but having worked in the workforce development space, particularly with people who are transitioning out of DTA and other social services, like for me, I come from a very different perspective around workforce development because I have been on the other side of the work. And so I'm curious about your collaboration with nonprofit organizations and other groups to get some more people of color and women into these jobs, and your relationship with not just Mass Hire and the usual suspects. I'm talking about the Dominican Women's Development Corp. I'm talking about these smaller mom and pop organizations who are deeply rooted in community, not up here with all of those folks who have access to, information. Like, what does that look like? How are you all partnering up with smaller nonprofit organizations to build this workforce?
Thank you so much, Counselor. We've been really focusing on that with the Labor Compliance Office and have deep partnerships with many worker centers that we've been really trying to engage with around worker know your rights info, but that allows us also to engage on workforce development. And these worker centers are dealing with folks not only who have many different issues with their existing jobs, but some of them have lost their jobs or are looking for new pathways. And we've been able to really we've created a list of workforce development programs that our office supports that are, and with detailed information on whether or not they are open, if ESOL is provided, if it's focused on immigrant communities. So we've been really trying to bring the connections we have with those worker centers around the workers' rights information to bridge into workforce development as well. And we're starting to see we're bringing information and tabling at all of these Know Your Rights fairs, and really connecting with folks and deep partnerships on that.
Thank you. My last question is that if there was a way for us to amend the
Councilor Mejia, sorry, you're over 5 minutes. Councilor Mejia, you're over 5 minutes, but
okay, sir. Sorry.
No,
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Don't worry.
No problem.
Don't worry, I'm off.
That last question was beyond 5 minutes, but I let it go. We have another panel. I'm just trying to move things along. Councilor Worrell, you are up. Councilor Flynn is next in order. I don't see him on. So Councilor Fitzgerald, you should be ready to go after Councilor Worrell, unless Councilor Flynn returns. Councilor Worrell, 5 minutes. Is Councilor Worrell here? No. Okay. So, and I don't see Councilor Flynn. Councilor Fitzgerald, you've moved up in the batting order. And then Councilor Durkin, you're on deck.
All right. Thank you, Chair. Right man, right spot. Here we go. Folks, great to see you all. Trin, always a pleasure. And Jody and Michael and Christopher, nice to see you guys and meet you all. Thank you for coming. We'll get right into questions. So, my first one here is it's kind of all over the place. The city funded projects. So we talk about doing the compliance around the city funded projects and that affecting, we look at the contractors who get on the city projects and we can penalize them if they have a previous record of poor quality of meeting these requirements. Does that factor in their previous private work that they do when they apply for a public job, or is it only previous public jobs that they've done?
That factors in public and private. So we can create a record for every contractor based on their BRJP's history. And in fact, I'm so glad you asked that question because we are working on making more available to our procurement team information not only on contractors' BRJP history, but also if they've had previous wage theft violations and other issues. So we've been working with Do It to try to create an internal first, but then external after database, which will allow folks to quickly look into the contractors of the city of Boston and get their history with regards to BRJP and also other issues. It is available on our Analyze Boston. I should make folks, and I can put this in the chat, but you can look up a contractor anytime on our Analyze Boston database. It's just harder to sort through and take some time. We're trying to make that easy for our procurement team and for anybody seeking that information.
Great, thank you so much. For the fines, there's the $300 per day for those that don't comply. I was wondering who technically, how much money has been taken in through those fines? How much money do we generate? I'm sorry if I didn't catch that, if that was said. And who technically issues those fines? Does that come from BRJP, or do we ask ISD or zoning code or code enforcement or someone else?
They are, so in total, we've collected $17,000. Those funds came from one project. The recommendations for sanctions come from the Boston Employment Commission, but the actual sanctions are issued by the city of Boston. So the funds go into the general coffers when that happens.
Who in the city of Boston, do we know?
So we make, Boston Employment Commission makes recommendations, and then the law department does the final work on it.
So the law department will
Yep.
send the notice of saying you are not in compliance and now
The Boston Resident Jobs Policy Office, with support from our team on the law office, sends in the issues of fines. So officially, when someone is fined, the letter of noncompliance and the recommendation or the fines come from the Boston Resident Jobs Policy Office on recommendation from the Boston Employment Commission with a review from the law department.
And then who actually accepts the money?
The money, general contractors are responsible for paying the funds. The funds go into the general treasury.
Okay.
So when we give them information on how to pay, they have links on where they can deposit the funds or who to write the check to, those kinds of things.
Great, thank you very much. Kind of one of my last questions is it's so important the work you guys do, right? Because these are the jobs that will keep families in the city, for the folks that want to stay here, the folks that are being forced out. And so not just to have these jobs available, but also make sure they're being paid the fair wages. So thank you for all the work that you do. But I've also I get approached a lot by, various people that have programs similar to this. I mean, there are great ones like Building Pathways, right, that do this stuff. But then there's these other smaller ones and they say, well, we train the kids and I do it out of my house or I do it out of my backyard. And some are better than others, but to me, it just seems there's a lot of folks out there with sort of a different approach to each one. And I don't know if you guys have seen what has worked the best. And I kind of have Building Pathways as the gold standard, right? But is there a better way to organize them, or that you guys see, like, because everyone's doing this little job and having, 10 kids from the neighborhood here or there and teaching a trade. Some of them is licensed, some of them aren't licensed, and they're just teaching a trade. I'm trying to think of a way to formally organize that better so that we can, people understand more where to go, right? It's not just knowing the guy who does it out of his house, but there's a more formal approach where they can do these things like a building pathways. And I don't know if you guys have noticed which ones work better or not, or if that becomes an issue in and of itself where people are not properly trained through one of these backyard ones. And then it becomes like, well, you didn't really meet the requirements needed to go forward. And I just, any information or education I could have around those type of things to know how to help them better.
Yeah, that's
Chris, did you want to take, oops, sorry.
Chris, do you want to take that before I chime in? But why don't, because of time's sake, why don't you chime in and talk?
Oh, absolutely. So what I've seen since I've been around is that the programs that offer like hands-on, construction experience on site, picking up a hammer, are the better ones. For example, the Youth Build Boston, they have classroom work, and also they're working on a job site, right? They're framing a wall, putting up drywall. I think those are the better ones. Some of the other ones, you're right. They say that they're stepping into the space, but I think the ones that have the classroom work and the on-site are the better ones.
I would just quickly add to Counselor, great questions. We do not fund or support unlicensed, uninsured training programs because if a student get hurt, there's liability, and also we want to make sure there's a good end product for the students enrolling in those programs. The second thing is with construction and with the trades, as you know, they're certified industry standards by the state and by the feds in order for you to comply to work with safety standards in that approved project. So it's structured in a way that you have to have that credential, that license or supervision to do that job well. So we don't want to set up our residents to fail or get hurt just because there's a quick opportunity to make it work. Having said that, we don't ever turn away partnerships. We never turn away people in Boston who want to help. So what we do is in our grant making process and in our framework of workforce development, we have a continuum of career pathways, and that includes outreach, assessment, and then technical partner trainings, job placements, employer engagement, retention, and support. Any of those partners can fit into that continuum. So we work with other partners when we have 10 same partners doing the same thing, 10 to 25, sometimes they're 50, going after the same small pot of funding. And so our job is to convene and bring people together and say, John's cool with assessment and ESOL, but he's not good with technical training. Our technical training has been certified by the state, have credentials, have insurance to do X, Y, and Z. So maybe Trin's shop in technical training shouldn't be doing outreach, but collaborate with John. So everybody gets a partnership that they're comfortable with. We don't force it, but you get more points to obtain our funding if you go in it together and work on that continuum. And we've designed that continuum based on evidence-based practices within the state and within national models as well.
Thanks, Trin. I know my time is up, but I just want to say, I know probably myself and a lot of my colleagues, we get approached by some of these folks, right? And they're looking for funding and they just, hey, John, we do good things, we do God's work, and we're trying to get the job, we just need some money. And we just want to make sure, okay, if we find you money, is that are we getting the ROI on it, right? And is that worth it? And how much should we go? So that's the reason for my questioning anyway. So thank you guys for answering. Thank you, Chair. I appreciate the time.
Thank you, Councilor Fitzgerald. Councilor Durkin, you're up. Councilor Fernandez-Anderson, you're on deck. 5 minutes, Councilor Durkin.
Thank you so much, Chair. I really appreciate it. And thank you, Trin, or I don't know if I call you Chief or Director, but either way, thank you for all of your work. Wanted to get into sort of for residents too who are listening in, what has been the impact of this ordinance since 1985? And I know there were some amendments made in 2017. Like, how have those changes made this a more effective program?
Chris, you want me to go ahead? You go.
I could take a stab at it. So what I've seen a lot of Boston residents being employed on construction sites, and also people of color over time since the program started. And I think because of this program, even though we're not meeting the marks that some would like and that we, have on paper, I do think that this program has changed lives. It has helped people, in terms of their financial situations and also their families. So, and, it's had a positive effect on also the Boston economy, in my opinion. So, but I do think that, like we stated before, there's work to be done because just the way the workforce is, right? People are economics, people are going where it's cheaper. I think training is important. We talked about training programs, funding training programs, and on our level, on the local level, just having, for example, what we do in the office, the outreach to different nonprofits, just making sure people are signing up and applying for the training at the local union halls, right? So we don't know who's putting in applications. I mean, so the person that's accepting applications, he's only picking from the applications that he or she has in front of them. So I think that's important, just getting the outreach, getting the word out to Boston residents, making sure that they're applying on time, and if they need assistance with resume building or coming up with a license in order to meet that criteria, to submit that application, providing support in that area as well.
Thank you so much. Oh, sorry, Jody, did you have something else?
So I was just going to say that one of the big changes in the ordinance gave us the tools of those 7 compliance measures. And again, we'd love to be able to find people based on their ability to actually meet those hiring goals. Because of constitutional reasons, we can't. So the changes in the ordinance that gave us those compliance measures do give us more teeth. And I think the fact that our construction monitors are meeting in advance with every contractor, laying out all the guidelines, helping with best practices. I mean, this sets us apart from a lot of cities around the country that don't have similar programs, where contractors are really being, they need to report out every step along the way. And again, are we meeting the goals we want to? No, we definitely know there's got to be some improvement in that regard, but the oversight that we put on contractors is really unique.
Thank you. And I just wanted to ask sort of a more overarching question. How does this fit into our overall goal for workforce training and diversity and development and everything that we're trying to do and the changes we're trying to make at the BPDA around reform and just making sure that diversity and is part of your application and is part of the Article 80 process?
Yeah, this BRJP is part of the recommendations and all the information that requirements around Boston Resident Jobs Policy is part of the Article 80 process. That's what kicks off our monitoring, and it's really a critical compliance tool to help try to get to the goals that we're setting around that. And I think the move to the Worker Empowerment Cabinet for the Boston Resident Jobs Policies did 2 things. One, it really put it in the context of compliance for labor overall. We're looking at all the pieces that contractors are supposed to meet around wage theft, health and safety, everything. But also now it's part of the arm of the city that's focused on workforce development as well. So there's a lot more opportunity to connect the workforce development strategies and dollars with the compliance and oversight dollars, and looking at how do we put that up front with regards to project labor agreements and community benefits agreements, and then make sure the compliance on the other end of that is happening as well.
And I would just say, you don't have to go far to see that Boston has had a history of failing students that have sought a technical education. But I think today we are moving in a really good direction. I think the administration having a worker empowerment cabinet and focusing on this issue as something core to our success as a city is really important. But I think I'm a really positive person, and I like to think about what are the successes we have and how can we replicate them. So what are some of those successes that we've seen, and even if we haven't been able to hit some of the metrics that we're looking for, how do we replicate the success that we have seen?
I think in the women category, I think if you look at the data that I provided from 1989 up until 2023. The percentages have increased a lot for, in terms of the women work hours, and the overall hours have increased. And the women hours have kept up. They're not at 12%, but I think it's becoming more commonplace to see women with hard hats on now, whether you're on a construction site or, you know, if you see them coming home from work. So, it's not only this program, but there's other, like PGTI, there's other, organizations that have been, driving the bus when it comes to women participation on projects. And I do think, from what I've seen, that we've had some success in that category. And I think we have to be intentional, more intentional, especially with the Boston resident category. There's a lot of moving parts to Boston residents, right? They come, they go, or whatever. So I think, again, the outreach, the training, and just making sure that they're getting the applications in, I think that's important to hopefully, increasing the pipeline with the Boston residents.
Thank you so much, Chair.
Yeah, sorry. Thank you. Councilor Durkin, Councilor Fernandez Anderson, you're up, 5 minutes.
Morning or almost good afternoon. Thank you, Chair. I came late, and so I've been listening. A lot of my questions have been asked.
Yeah, Councilor Fernandez Anderson, sorry, your sound is off. I can sort of hear you. It's like a long distance call. Your 5 minutes haven't started.
I appreciate that, Chair. Thank you so much. Can you hear me?
Yeah, great.
Okay. Can't wait to the hearing with Do It. Good morning, everyone. Amazing work. This is one of my favorite departments, and appreciate all of the work that you've done. I think I'm interested in, and I apologize, Chair, that I was delayed, and I'm interested in the numbers change from last year to this year. I understand that putting in metrics and creating this dashboard that we've been asking for, Councilor Mejia, Councilor Worrell, and myself had been working on this, and Councilor Lujan had been working on this in the previous years, and really looking forward to that. So if that question hasn't been answered, I would like to understand if there's been specific by percentage or number change in terms of hiring, and particularly, obviously, with the BIPOC and women contractors.
Yeah, Councilor Fernandez Anderson, this is your time is on pause. There is a slide. Can someone bring up the page?
So I missed it. That's okay. I can review it.
The data, yeah, it's just for your sake. From 2022 to 2023, we went from 24% residents to 22% residents being hired. We went from 39% people of color of the hours to 37%, and for women, it went from 8% of the hours to 7%, with the total number of hours going down from 2022 to 2023. Sorry, I'll put you back.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. That's very helpful. I guess if I can ask my questions, and if they've been answered, let me know, and then I can review the tape. How does the Commission ensure transparency in terms of reporting data, if that's been answered so far? If you don't have a dashboard of metrics, are we reporting it? Are you submitting to anyone information, mechanisms that are in place to facilitate public access to information regarding implementation for Boston residents, job policy, and how does the Commission ensure that its enforcement of policy promotes inclusivity and equal opportunities for all residents, particularly people of color and women? And I guess similar to Councilor Durkin, in terms of best practices, have we been able to compare and identify or incorporate into our approach in enforcing the Boston job residency?
Thank you so much, Councilor. The dashboard for the Boston Resident Jobs Policy is available on our website. It does have data broken down by the categories for the most recent year. However, for this presentation, our manager, Chris Brown, brought together 30 years of data for review. So we'll make sure you get that slide deck. And we could make that available on our website as well. At the moment, the website just focuses on previous years. However, there is our entire Salesforce database is available on Analyze Boston, and I can send a link as well. So the public can review by contractor, by date, by project, all Boston Resident Jobs Policy compliance data. And again, probably not as easy to find, and we could do better at that, but it is available, and we'll try to make some improvements so that folks can link to that directly from the main Boston Resident Jobs Policy database.
Thanks,
With
Jody.
regards to
I
the-
guess I was wondering, right, how do we access it? And I understand that there are bad players, so what do you do about it?
Another great question. We are really trying to compile information by contractor, and we are working right now to create a database that's available to our procurement team that outlines the history of all of the contractors and subcontractors with regards to their ability to meet the hiring goals of the Boston Resident Jobs Policy, and also other labor violations like wage theft and things like that. We know that it can be used as we move forward with contracting decisions, and we want to make that easy for procurement and contracting staff for the city. So that's a step we're moving forward. We met with Do It. We're really looking forward to trying to move that forward in FY25 as an internal database, and we hope that it'll be public facing after and include not just Boston Resident Jobs Policy data again, but wage theft and wage and hour violation, retaliation, any data that is publicly available from the Attorney General's Office and the Department of Labor combined into one place to make it easy for our procurement staff to make decisions based on those, based on history, and identify those bad actors who just consistently are not only not meeting the hiring goals, but late payroll and all the other pieces that we track.
Thank you, Jody. Christopher, you mentioned something about in terms of not getting specific information, who's applying. What would you recommend in terms of us accessing that information?
I'm sorry, in terms of individuals applying to the different training programs?
Yes.
So we are developing the jobs bank coordinator in our office. That's one of the items that we're working on, the outreach, in terms of just getting, doing a better job in getting together the dates, the sign-up dates for different unions, different training programs, whether it's building pathways, whether it's Youth Real Boston. I think maybe that's something that we could provide links to also on the website for the public to be able to, just go on the website and click on the link, and it shows all the different sign-up dates for the unions. I think it's important in terms of outreach, again, because we don't have, I've been here a while and I haven't, we say, okay, this union or this training program is not taking in Boston residents, but we don't have actual data on who's applying. So it's important that we track the individuals that are actually applying to these programs, and and making sure that they meet all the criteria: driver's license, high school diploma, submitting all the documentation. So I think that's important, just making sure that people are applying to the different unions, because the person that's picking can only pick from the applications that's in front of them.
I think my time is up.
If you have one more question, Councilor Patterson.
I appreciate that. I was going to say, I'm really interested in understanding how you're operationally how you're doing that, because a lot of people in District 7, especially Roxbury, when there's a job up, you see people outside protesting these job sites. And then the disconnect, obviously, is that you don't know who's applying, but then they're saying they're applying, and then the unions or other folks or the developers are telling you that they are doing the right thing. And there has to be a platform, some sort of incubator that everybody's on the same page, because the disconnect is just not okay. And so year after year, we're saying the same thing. So I'm really hopeful for this project with Do It that you're talking about, and digitizing this platform data, metrics, therefore dashboard is more comprehensible, that's more accessible, so that we can hold developers to account. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll wait for the second turn, I guess. I'm sorry, is this the first round? Are we going to second round?
This is the first round. I'll open it maybe to one, because we have a second panel of advocates.
Oh, I see.
I was going to open up for if anyone has one follow-up question or something for.
Understandable. That's okay.
For the administration.
That's okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next up is Councilor Flynn. I'll save my questions to after that. Thank you, Councilor Flynn. So you have 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you to the administration team that is here and doing this important work. I had the opportunity to join Jody at an event
Thank you, Councilor Flynn. Great question, and something that we've been really trying to work on. We know that a history of compliance with Boston resident jobs policy can weigh in when the city is making decision about contracts. Our team is trying to make that easier. We're working with Do It to try to pull data from the Boston resident jobs policy Salesforce and other databases, as well as wage theft, wage and hour, Department of Labor, and our Attorney General's office to create one easy place where procurement and contracting staff can look to identify whether or not contractors have been meeting the all of the various labor compliance things that we track here at the city. So we're really trying to get that together first internally in FY25, and then we hope to make it a public external database. And we will share that across all departments within the city so that folks who are making decisions about contracting can be sure to take that into account. It's really an important strategy that we haven't leveraged as much as we'd like to, and we're working very hard on that.
Thank you, Jody. Yes, I agree. Anyone that's not in compliance and people that are contractors blatantly not doing what they're supposed to be doing, being a good neighbor, being a good resident, I don't think they should get city contracts at all. And it's important that we have a system in place that Do It is part of, so every city department knows what contractors are not following the city rules and city guidelines. So that's something I'm going to continue to advocate for. My final question is on this issue. What is the challenges that may take place during an economic slowdown in construction, if there is one? I'm not saying there's going to be one, but if there is one, what impact does that have on the Boston jobs policy, Boston jobs of Boston residents? How is that impacted when you see up and down in Boston's economy, Boston's construction and development process? What are your thoughts on that?
Chris, I'm going to let you chime in here, but we did, in our slide deck, Chris was able to pull together 30 years of data. And I think it shows that, you can see the work hours go down, and it does mean less work for Boston residents, but the percentages don't change that drastically. Although it does seem, been looking at the data, which we will share with your office, that it is Boston residents, people of color and women who seem to be hit first when there is a downturn. If you do a deep dive into the analysis, it's not huge, but you see those percentages go down as you see the work hours go down. Chris, you've looked at that data more.
Absolutely, yeah. So I precisely as you stated, Jody, I think what I've seen, what tends to happen is companies usually, they stick with their core workers, right? And a lot of times, for some of the larger companies, their core workers are not necessarily Boston residents. And so, or people of color or women, but you won't see a drastic decrease in those areas. But, again, they gravitate, just human nature, companies gravitate to the people that they've had working for them for a long time and their core workers. But it also provides an opportunity for companies to diversify their workforce because you have a lot of more people out of work, right? So that includes Boston residents, people of color, and women that are on the bench. So it also provides an opportunity for a company to go after a Boston resident and keep that person, and that person could therefore become a core member of that company's crew.
Councilor Flynn, that was your 5 minutes.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to Chris and thank you to Jody. I'm looking forward to hearing from the testimony of the public. That's important. I also want to acknowledge Councilor Bowling, Councilor Chuck Turner, and Mayor Flynn for their work on these issues years ago. So thank you, Mr. Chair, for giving me an extra minute.
Thank you. So I have a couple questions as the chair, just for my colleagues. I was gonna, because we have a second panel, I wasn't gonna have a full kind of second round, but if anyone had one follow-up question, you can raise your hand, and after I get through a couple questions, happy to call on you. Then we've had some advocates who have been patiently waiting, and I'd like to get to them. I guess, in terms of this ordinance, looking at it, it's very good. It's hard to enforce. And I guess, Jody, we talked about, it's been in place for nearly 40 years, and there's been one sanction from last year. Can you tell us, I mean, do you think, do we have the staff? Are you able to issue sanctions when, or are folks submitting their paperwork on time and there's no sanctions that we need to issue? I don't know, are you there?
Yeah, I'll answer quickly because I know we want to get on to the panel. I think it's a really challenging, ultimately we cannot sanction or fine people for not meeting the hiring goals because of constitutional reasons. So we're left with the late payroll and things like that. And, the reality is that every month there's hundreds of late payroll. Some are just a few days late, some are more. We look for patterns, and if there is a contractor who has a pattern of significant late payroll, then we try to hone in on that. And I want to say that while the first sanctions and violations were issued, the Boston Employment Commission has been working on non-compliance and negotiating support for the pipeline well before we came on board. So I think it's just a challenge of wanting to really make an impact with sanctions and violations, not just a slap on the wrist for a few $1,000s for a late payroll. Is that really going to get us to the goals that we're trying to get at with the BRGP? And we're really trying to think about ways that we can engage with sanctions and violations and working with contractors directly to get closer to the goals as opposed to just slapping folks on the wrist. Mm-hmm. And Chris, I don't know if you want to add to that, but that's the main, it just is, it's a challenge.
Okay, Chris, if you had something else to add, if you don't, I'd move on to my next question.
No, I think you can move on.
Okay, well, so in the statute, it says that, we can create a record of non-compliance that may be considered for future contracts. So do we have a record of the folks who are missing? You said lots, it's a common occurrence. Do you have that data?
We are working to get from Salesforce we can search by contractor and we can get their historic ability to see their history and meeting compliance with the hiring goals. And again, I think this is such an important piece. We really do want to try to move towards making it easy for our contracting and procurement staff to be able to get that information so that they can easily use it in making decisions about contracting and procurement with the city. So we're working to try to do that. Our Salesforce database does make that easier. There's no formal record outside of our database, but we are trying to create something that is more comprehensive for procurement and contracting staff.
Okay, and then just also in the ordinance, it says that the city of Boston may suspend the work of or payments to contractors, managers who violate the ordinance, until compliance is obtained, and may terminate their contract after repeated violations. And again, it's important to highlight the violation is not submitting the payroll records on time. It's not missing the guidelines entirely. So, I mean, it could be somebody hires enough, the right number of people, but they just have a bad payroll department. I don't know if those go together. But do you think we should be doing more of that, or have we ever suspended payments to someone for not submitting the payroll records or terminated their contract?
Not to my knowledge. Chris would have much more institutional memory. I will say that as we were moving forward with the sanctions we did issue and waiting for payment from that particular contractor, we reminded them that we had that power, and the payment came into the city the next day.
Well, in terms of the public projects, we do have, so if we're not receiving, the payrolls, the certified payrolls, we do have the ability to contact the line department and say, hey, listen, we're not getting payrolls for this particular project. Can you hold the payment until we get the information we need, the certified payrolls or whatever else is lacking? Does it happen often? No, because I think most of the companies are submitting the payrolls. But if it's in a case in the past where it's been egregious, then we do have the ability to reach out to the line department and say, hey, this company, this project hasn't been submitting the payrolls. Please, could you hold that company's check?
Okay, and then so looking at the ordinance, it seems like contractors have 3 ways of complying, right? And there's one is to actually meet the thresholds, which seems like few are able to do that. 2 is to meet a long list of requirements, and it's meeting with people. One stuck out to me that it's general contract. The contractors should provide the name, address, telephone number of each Boston resident, person of color, and woman who has sought employment but who was not hired. So do you have that? Do people actually provide that data?
We're working on, no, that caught our eye as well, especially as I started and really started looking in to the requirements of the ordinance, and been working with the Boston Resident Jobs Policy Jobs Bank Coordinator Janine McLaren to create a dashboard of the projects of when we're receiving and not receiving that information, so we can better assess, similar to late payroll, when people are meeting the requirements that contractors are supposed to meet as it relates to the Boston Resident Jobs Policy. I think the short answer is not often, and we need to fix it.
Yeah, I really feel like that would be an important set of data, because then we know, who's applying for jobs and not getting them. I represented migrant farm workers. There's a guest worker program. To hire a guest worker, employers have to certify that they've been searching for workers locally before they try to get farm workers from Mexico or Guatemala or, Vietnam or something. And they often, it's kind of a sham process, and I feel like we really, there's tools in here, I think we can use. The last thing, well, I just have 2 more quick things based on the ordinance. There's also, compliance monitors are allowed to make visits, and general contractors or subcontractors shall attend corrective action meetings with the compliance monitor. Have those been happening?
Chris, you got that one?
Yeah. So we do perform site visits, public and private projects. The monitors are on site, and they go out to verify what's been submitted, right? Payrolls are submitted to us. We get data. Chris Brown, Boston residents, working out on this project. So the compliance officer goes out and does a spot check, make sure Chris Brown is working on the project. In terms of corrective action meeting, yes, we meet with contractors when they're non-compliant. They could be non-compliant in several different ways, or just one way. Could be non-compliant with the numbers. the women numbers. We meet with them, try to collaborate with them, develop a plan, what's going on. Why is it that you don't have the 12% goal? And ask for paperwork and proof that they have looked for individuals, develop a plan to move forward, a timeline in order to increase numbers. So yes, and that goes for all categories in terms of the work hours and the percentages. It also goes for paperwork. So if we have a company that's not submitting payrolls or whatever the paperwork is, we can meet with them about that as well. And we do that on a regular basis.
Okay, just one more quick thing. So if you don't hire enough workers, residents, people of color, women, and you don't go through all these processes where you maintain this, you can still satisfy the ordinance in this third way, which to me is very interesting. You demonstrate the high impracticality of complying with the standards. Let's say you're doing something and they're just, it's only white men from outside of Boston who are licensed scuba diving or something, but you can still satisfy it by hiring apprentices, and that all the apprentices or trainees are Boston residents, people of color. You're meeting the requirements. That's in the ordinance. Has that ever happened?
It has to be negotiated in advance. So in the year and a half that I've been with BRJP, I have not seen it. Though, you will see project labor agreements that have in it incorporated the BRJP guidelines with apprenticeship ratios sometimes. Chris, you've got the history here. In your 30 years, have you seen anybody comply in that manner?
I have not.
Okay, well, I feel like we get to, that's another tool. I mean, if we get apprentices to be trained, we get people, involved, but I guess that comes back to, all we have is a slap on the wrist for payroll issues. I guess, Jody, I'll leave last question for you is do you have any thoughts on what would be, a more effective tool than the $300 fine?
Yeah, we've done a lot of thinking about this, and I think the main thing we want to get at is really ensuring that folks are meeting best practices. We need to have a better understanding of the market. How many workers are there in Boston? I think some of the things that you brought up, because we always hear from contractors, we tried and there weren't enough Boston residents. We need to have a better understanding of that question when it comes up, and data and research. But we want them to be meeting these goals. So we see approaches of helping with best practices. This is why we're trying to create some webinars with our construction monitors. And we want to I think we have not used all the tools in our toolbox. The creation of a record of noncompliance and ensuring that contracting and procurement staff understand and can use that as part of their decision making. That's something we haven't done, and we really want to utilize that across the board for labor compliance. As it pertains to wage and hour issues and other issues as well.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I just want to throw it back to my council colleagues. Is if anybody, I'm gonna end this panel. I hope the administration will stick around to hear the advocates. But if anyone wants to raise their hand, you get a question. Not seeing any questions. I'd like to move on to the second panel. Again, I feel like, we've heard that this is obviously, thank you for compiling the data and giving us a clear snapshot of what's going on in our city and what we can, what we need to focus on, and it's been on the books for 40 years, and I feel like, we have work to do to meet the goals. Let's, if I can, there are, I'm not sure who is here from the advocates. It looks like we have Liz Skidmore, who's with the policy group on tradeswomen's issues, and Priscilla Flint, who's the founder and executive director of the Boston Employment Commissioner. She's with the Marcus Anthony Hall Educational Institute and Flint and Associates. So I again thank you to the administration. Hope you'll stick around. I guess Liz and Priscilla, I will throw it to you for statements. Liz Skidmore, you're up first. Oh, you're on mute.
Okay, how about
There you
now?
go. Now I can hear you.
All right, good. Well, thank you all. This is a really rich hearing with a lot of information, and I'm a bit of a data nerd, so I appreciate that. My name is Liz Skidmore. Thank you for inviting me to speak today. I live in Roxbury, and I've been a union carpenter for 35 years. Ever since I started as an apprentice, I have loved being a carpenter, and I've worked to bring more women into union construction, particularly prioritizing women of color. In 2008, after trying a lot of things to get more women into the trades that really didn't work, I co-convened the policy group on tradeswomen's issues, which has worked to develop better policy and put it into action to crush the barriers to women in construction. We've made progress collectively, and the BRJP is part of that. Since moving to an integrated supply and demand strategy, so supply is pre-apprenticeship, high schools, all the outreach, demand is making sure that workers actually get hired on the job. Massachusetts numbers have gone up. The national rate of women in apprenticeship in construction in the US is 4.4%. In Massachusetts, we're at 10.4%, one of the highest in the country. And that's been a steep increase since we've changed our strategies. We've grown, for example, in 2012, there were 173 women in union construction in the state. Now, their last data of 2022, there were 763. I will note that the non-union sector has a total currently of 61 women in apprenticeship in construction, which tells you a little bit about who's making the effort and is attracting the women. I want to appreciate the BRJP, both the ordinance itself and the staff in that department and all the work they do. I work with tradeswomen groups around the country, and they're all jealous of what we have here. With that appreciation, my main message is we can do better, especially for women. Just a quick note on why prioritize women. Bringing women, particularly women of color, into good union construction careers is transformative. For all the data that was just shared about the impact, the economic impact, it doesn't just change them, it changes their families, their neighborhoods, their whole community. 75% of people living in poverty in Massachusetts are in single female-headed households, which means policies and practices that move those women out of poverty and into good careers have a very significant impact. And lastly, I wanted to share that moving gender moves race. And I believe this is for two reasons. Everywhere we have the data, a little over half the hours worked by women are being worked by women of color. For example, in the BRJP full data set, it shows a little over 54% of women's hours are being worked by women of color. In addition, making compliance work better brings more compliance for men of color also. So how do we do better? I have two main points, and you'll probably tell I could talk for days, so I'm trying to tighten it up. One, better data analysis. Two, further institutionalization of best practices. We have a how-to manual for meeting workforce goals that was developed in partnership with the Mass Gaming Commission and the Mass Building Authority. It's called Finishing the Job and can be found on the PGTI website, which is policygroup.tradeswomen.org. So dig a little bit into the data. First, thank you so much for getting the public database complete again. It was not complete for a little while as databases changed. I understand it's complete. That's a big deal and very helpful to those of us on the ground. So just a few little thoughts and questions on the BRJP data. One is, when will the 2023 data be posted? It also, as you're developing a dashboard, it'd be great if you could add dollar value totals to the project. It helps sort of give a sense of scale. It'd be great, some of the data that Chris Brown shared and the graphic use of that data. We create trend lines for projects that really helps you see, are we going up or are we going down? I'd hope that could be included in the upcoming dashboard. So the entire database of like 72 million hours shows overall average for people of color of 38%. Last year, which is 2022, which is up on the BRJP website, shows 37%, so that's a decrease. So what's going on there? Hours worked total or last year are at 8%, which shows a growth over the total of all the database of 6%. So that's good. As Chris said, it's not meeting the goal of 12%. And the last 6 months report shows it's at 7%, which is a drop from last year. So why is it dropping and how will you fix it? On the sanctions front, as was just mentioned, you used a tool of, you have a tool of creation of record of noncompliance, and somebody, I think you've said you haven't done that yet. I think that I would raise the urgency of not doing that and not hiring contractors for history of noncompliance. I think it's actually the two most effective tools are telling people up front how to be successful, and then they lose work if they're not. More than fines in my experience. And that's what other entities, and I know the rules can be different, but Harvard University has a very good compliance history, and they just don't get work if they don't play ball, if they don't get the numbers and do the reports and meet or exceed the goals. All right, lots more I could say there, but second point of further institutionalizing the best practices. Finishing the job is the how-to manual we wrote about how to do this based on 15 years of experience on $7.3 billion worth of work that are meeting or exceeding the goals on state-funded projects, include some City of Boston projects in there. They're all projects using the best practices. I know a lot of folks there are familiar with it, but just further institutionalize it, put it up on the website, include it in your contract language, make sure staff people are trained on it and are using all the components of the best practices. Just one specific best practice I'll mention is that core crews are no longer an excuse. I appreciate Chris mentioning that. Contractors would show up with an all-white male contractors base or crew and say, oh, this is our core crew. As soon as we hire, not allowed. You can't, you got to diversify your core crew. You got to show up from day one. I want to mention also that the one thing Chris Brown mentioned that he wants to do is already done. So the Northeast Center for Tradeswomen's Equity, which is part of Building Pathways, has created a live website page that has a list of all the apprenticeships in the state and all the pre-apprenticeships in the state and who's open when. You can find it at tiny.cc/trade guide. Please put that on your website. It's already done. We update it regularly to make sure it's current. We'll mention Maggie Drino as the Director of Compliance for the UMass Building Authority. She's really doing cutting edge work. I think she would be more than happy to come in and figure out what best practices the UMass Building Authority is using that maybe BRJP could add to their mix. I would also encourage you to consider hiring more staff. I think the quantity of projects that each compliance officer in the City of Boston makes it impossible to fully implement best practices. Project labor agreements have been critical, especially if they include language for access and opportunity committees. That is a committee chaired by the end user that meets monthly, reviews the data. I know the compliance officers are doing a lot of that work, but what we found is when it's public, there's a little more pressure that makes the contractors a little more receptive to meeting the goals. And the only project, to my knowledge, that's ever met all three goals in the City of Boston under the BRJP was the Integrated Science Complex at UMass Boston, which had a project labor agreement. It created this framework of access and opportunity committees. It achieved 10.05% women, 34% people of color, and 48% Boston residents. So it's a little below the 50% goal at the time, but pretty darn close. we can't urge you enough to start really look into creating access and opportunity committees. I know it'd be an added layer to more work, hence needing more staff. Our recommendation would be that you create regional ones, because you can't do one for every 100 and some odd projects that you're doing. But we found that regional AOCs actually create a little competition between the GCs. They don't want to look bad in front of their competitors, and that helps the compliance officer do some of their work. At these AOC meetings, we do really pragmatic analysis. So just 2 examples. We do a HIP analysis, high impact poor performer. Who's a subcontractor that has a lot of hours? How are they doing? What's their plan? Do they show up with a diverse core crew? What are their numbers early on? What's their workforce projection? You can't meet the goals without the big dogs getting their numbers. So that HIP analysis is a key part. And then another piece of analysis, and there's many others, but is comparing the current month to project to date. If the current month's numbers are below project to date, either they've laid off women or people of color or hired more non-diverse workers. And we should know exactly what's going on there. Why did it happen? Why are their numbers going down? Trin's point, my last point, Trin mentioned the need to add to the pre-apprenticeship on the supply side model. Pre-apprenticeship is incredibly important, but as she said, it's low numbers, it's somewhat expensive to run, but it's really important for people who need that extra contact and development and extra certifications. We've created something called buildalifema.org with funding from the Mass Gaming Commission originally. One of our young adults said it's GPS, not Uber. So the idea is it's directing you where to go. The pre-apprenticeship will take you if you need the ride. Pre-apprenticeship is really important. But the pipeline model of the GPS side of here's where you go, here's when to apply, has been really important. Our Build a Life framework, which is also a project of Building Pathways, because Building Pathways is trying to expand tools. So in the 4 or 5 years it's been around, we've engaged with 3,274 career seekers. We do a short survey to make sure they're eligible, basic eligibility questions for apprenticeship. 935 have been eligible. We send them a list of resources to become eligible if they're not. 287 have reported to us that they applied for a career as an apprentice or starting as an apprentice, and then 139 women have started work. So this is a really important, this pipeline tool, Build a Life, is a really important tool in addition to the pre-apprenticeships. The 2 together, I think, cover the needs of some workers who need a little more engagement and some workers who just know what trade they want and ready to go. So I could say a lot more, but I've gone over time, so I'll stop here, but happy to answer any questions either today or after today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Liz. Priscilla?
Good morning. Can you hear me?
I can. Thank you.
Yes. Good morning. Thank you for having this hearing. My name is Priscilla Flint. I'm the founder and executive director for Marcus Anthony Hall Educational Institute. I'm the president and CEO of Flint and Associates. I serve on the Boston Employment Commission as a commissioner, and I am the founder of the Boston City Hall Prayer Ministry. Thank you, Councilor Julia Mejia, for helping me bring this prayer ministry back to the hall. I started attending monthly BEC meetings in 2012 when the Bruce Boland building was being built. I became a community monitor, monitoring construction projects in the Roxbury area. I worked along Chuck Turner and the Boston Jobs Coalition. Together, we created the Economic Justice Commission, which, as you know, has a hearing twice a month in April and October. We fought for and won the good job standards, which are introduced in all the development that has been implemented since January 2017 when the new ordinance went into effect. I'm giving you this history because none of you on the council was here when I started the journey of monitoring these construction projects that are still out of compliance and continuing to make no real effort to execute this plan that could change so many lives in Boston's BIPOC communities. We saw the history that Chris gave us. We protested several developments in the city to get the new ordinance and the good job standards. We protested the Bruce Bowling Building. Then we went to 225 Center Street in Jamaica Plain, East Boston at the airport. We helped the airport workers get unionized. We protested at Ink Block in Chinatown, the old Filings building, when they were building the skyscraper that is there now. We also had to protest the constructions of the new Tropical Foods that is in Nubian Square. I have been an advocate for Boston residents, Black and BIPOC communities, and women since I retired from the City of Boston's Treasury Department, running the payroll in 2010. I still do not understand why I have to continuously ride up and down the streets of Boston and see little or no people that look like me or who are not Boston residents or women. I have seen improvement, but not nearly enough. For these same developers and contractors to continue to come to the BEC meetings month after month out of compliance without making any real good faith efforts to meet these standards is deeply disturbing and frustrating. I was born and raised in this city, and it has not been easy for me, but I stay in this fight because no one has the courage to do what is right and deny developers that they are out of compliance. There are ways that developers can be held more accountable. We need to up the fines from $300 per day per trade to $1,500 per day per trade. Create a monitoring department of young adults who are being aged out of foster care and give them jobs monitoring some of these projects. There are several ways developers and contractors can be held accountable. The question is, are you willing to step up and work with the community in addressing these issues? When you go to Newton or Wellesley or even Brookline, how many Black construction companies or workers do you see? None. We continue to allow bad actors to get away with non-compliance. You don't have enough monitors, and you know you don't have enough. There are ways the job sites can be monitored. We used to do monitoring in Roxbury when Chuck Turner, God rest his soul, Tito Jackson, and Kim Janey were District 7 city councilors. There are 9 districts in this city. We could have 9 community monitoring committees, and you could have the youth actually at some of these sites. There are hundreds of construction jobs going on in this city, and yet we are not getting our fair share. If we really want compliance, we have to create a model that works, that we can do it. The unions are a problem. You know, funds, you know, why are the funds going into the general coffers of the city? Why can't they be put aside to go into money for some of these apprentice programs that you all keep creating? You all talked about a company or a trade that you were looking for that's doing this work. The People's Academy, they've been doing this work for a long, long time. They even have land. They just have to get it built. See, my thing is, we as Boston residents, people of color and females, we have been denied really true access to these good paying jobs. And I just found out recently that 80% of our young people who are incarcerated come from out of the foster care system. So when a child, because that's a child, 18, gets put out of a foster care system, they get nothing. Why can't there be some programs to help them? You all talk about, we have these large construction companies that have oodles and oodles of money. Why can't they build a really good construction union or non-union facility to train the people? We have Madison Park, but how are we really utilizing it for what it could be utilized for? It's a school. Why can't they do night classes? And so I just basically, you know, I heard all the data, I've seen the data, but I truly believe a better effort could be made to get more people of color, Black people, brown people, females, and people of color on these jobs. Yeah, we see an uptick in the people of color because they're coming from out of the city of Boston. The figures that we just seen with the Boston, with that Chris Brown gave us from 89 to 2023, they've never been in compliance with Boston residents. They've never been in compliance with females. So there needs to be a different way of doing this, and it can be done. You all just have to will to have to do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Priscilla. We were waiting to be joined by Renee Dozier from IBW 103. I do not see Renee on. I guess I'll open it up to questions. If Renee joins us, she can make a statement. So I'll open up to questions. So Madam President Louis Jen, I don't know if you.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair, and I want to thank Liz and Priscilla for their testimony. I want to for their presentation. Priscilla, you did have your hand up when I had asked the question earlier to the team about Madison Park. I don't know if that's what you wanted to address. Like, we are investing in renovations around Madison Park, a school that is our model for Voc Tech that has been deeply underinvested in. And I didn't know if there's something that you wanted to add then. I did see your hand up, so.
It was around, I think it may have been like around the unions. Like, I really feel like the unions, some of the unions are doing good and are doing better, but there's still a lot of these unions, especially trade unions, that are not, they don't have no quota or anything. It's just basically they do what they want to do. And so how do we get the unions to partner with the city to get more of our children and our youth into these trades? Mm-hmm. And so, and like I said about Madison Park, it's a school, 24 hour. They can be in there 24 hours being trained.
Thanks.
So,
yeah, and I know. Yeah, thanks. So when I do go to Madison Park, I do see a lot of signs and the banners of the unions that are working with Madison Park, and definitely want to see more of that grow as we sort of look at what the investments in Madison Park look like.
Madam President, sorry, we have been joined by Renee Dozier. I'm fine if you want to ask some more questions. You can go ahead. If you want to, we could hear from Ms. Dozier and then come back to you. It's up to you.
Let's hear from I have one more question, but we can hear from Mrs. Dozier and then come back to me. Hi, Renee. I'll go on mute and then I'll come back and I'll ask my question.
Okay. Yeah, Renee, thank you for joining us. We've heard from other two panelists from the advocates, and we've heard from the administration. If you want a couple minutes to address the council.
Yes. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for inviting me. Good afternoon. Thank you for inviting me to this. I'm grateful to be here and work with everybody. I apologize for me being late. I'm just gonna listen, and whatever it is that I need to do, I'll do. So I'm just gonna listen. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for being here. I guess so. We're having questions from the councilors. Back to you, Madam President, and then Councilor Mejia, you are on deck.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Renee, for joining us. My question, Liz, in your presentation, you talked about the benefits of PLAs, which can really provide the standards to help us get the diverse workforce to make sure that folks are being paid the prevailing wage. So I wanted to highlight that. But you also talked about the role of public pressure and putting contracts, putting some pressure on the general contractors. I'd love for you to talk about a little bit more about what that public pressure looks like. And I know that I didn't know that about the UMass Boston project. I think that's great. And I know that the tradeswomen, the Boston Union Trade Sisters, I know that the goal was for us to hit 20% for women in the trades by 2020. And so I know that has come in past, but would love to also hear what strides you think folks are making. I know that essential part of this too, and I think the trades have been trying to do this, is emphasize the role of providing childcare to our workers and how that will help. So if you wanted to expound on that, but wanted to send that your way to you or Renee, whoever wanted to chime in.
Sure. Thank you, President Mutsi, which I love saying. I'll just hit the childcare thing first. Construction. So in addition to all the problems with childcare that every other worker has, of like there's not enough of it and it's too expensive. If you work in construction, there's an additional problem, which is you got to drop your kid off at 5 in the morning, and there's no childcare that's open at 5 in the morning, or barely. So we've created a pilot program called Care That Works, which can be found at carethatworks.org, to try to match folks who need construction hour childcare with both licensed home-based providers who are willing to open that early. And I think we now have one childcare center in Mattapan, in addition to the home-based providers. So that is a huge obstacle. And actually the first apprentice to take advantage of this pilot was a young black man who's a single dad, who I think was an electrician, one of Renee's members. So it really speaks, like, even though childcare is associated with women in people's minds, it affects everybody, absolutely everybody. COVID taught us nothing, it's that. So then back to the public pressure question. So the history here is in 2008, Governor Deval Patrick signed a project labor agreement for the UMass Boston, a whole series of projects, really over 20 years, hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars, probably 20 projects. And in that project labor agreement, he included language establishing an access and opportunity committee. And the committee would be public, it would be chaired by the end user, it would meet monthly, it would work, the contractors would report on their numbers, and then there would be problem solving. So I will tell you, the very first year of that meeting back in 2008, there was endless yelling between, sort of labor in the community on one side and the state agency that was building that first project on this side. And to some degree, I felt their pain. It's already difficult to build things, and we're adding this whole other layer. Never mind, it was the law, and had been the law all along that they've been ignoring. But it was, I do recognize it was adding work to their deck. After about a year, we sort of came to grudging respect, mutual respect. And that first project, as I said, if you count within 2% on the residence goal, it met all 3 goals, and it's certainly the first and maybe not only project to meet the goals for women, but there's not a lot of projects that have met the goals for women. So what happens at those meetings is the report is presented, labor's in the room if that's relevant, because we've expanded this across the state to non-PLA covered projects, this Access and Opportunity Committee. Community groups are in the room. We bring tradeswomen to the room. You don't have enough women plumbers? Which of these 3 do you want to hire? When do you want her to start? Like there's a long history of contractors saying, oh, I couldn't find anybody, or I called the union, I didn't have anybody. And then you ask the business agent and they never got a call or an email or a request. So by bringing everybody into the same room, it just shortcuts all that baloney and brings the solution into the room, whether that's, we just brought in 5 new women apprentices into the carpentry, or somebody like Priscilla says, we just graduated a bunch of folks from our pre-apprenticeship, who can put them to work. We've had some access and opportunity committees. So we've had these best practices on about 38 projects over the last 15 years, worth $7.3 billion. And just on those projects alone, talk about economic impact, the delta between that 4.4% national average and our 7.3% women on those projects, we did the math by hours and a rough union rate. It's $37.5 million went to women, and a little over half of that to women of color, above and beyond what you could have predicted with the national average. Now, I'm not an economist, so that's back of the envelope numbers, but that's $37.5 million is a significant number. So we've had 1 or 2 access and opportunity committees that were single project committees, and they have not tended to do as well. So we believe that the specter of, a Suffolk Construction not looking good in front of a Shawmut Construction or whoever helps incentivize them because they're reporting in a public way on a monthly basis. I think the BEC has done important work, but it's just hamstrung by the quantity of jobs you're trying to cover. And, it's that month-to-month problem solving that these access and opportunity committees make work. And so, again, my recommendation, and it would require more staff, is that the city of Boston figure out some way, and it could be by city council district, I don't know, but establish regional access and opportunity committees, which would sort of be a layer before the BEC commission, because then that public work happens, the community's brought in, it's monthly when things can be done. Because a subcontractor could come and go from a job site, in less than a month. So you can't have just maybe once a year reviews to move this stuff forward, or it's not as effective. It has done something, but
Yeah, Liz, thank you very much. These are great answers. I want to give the other councilors some opportunity. Madam President, I think your 5 minutes are up.
Thank you. I'll just add quickly that we did look into I think Liz had mentioned that you don't get work if you don't play ball, and we've looked into that. So I'd like us to continue. That's all I wanted to add. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. We have been joined by Councilor Aaron Murphy. Councilor Mejia, you're up next, followed by Councilor Flynn.
Thank you, Chair. Hello, Liz, and hello, Renee, and Priscilla. Happy that you all are here contributing to the conversation. And I just want to highlight a few things. One is our office worked after meeting with Renee in 2021, I believe it was, Local 103 really helped me understand the significant barriers that a lot of women, in particular, who are trying to enter the trades were experiencing, specifically single moms. And through that conversation and through that work, our office championed and successfully secured the funding for the Care That Works program with $1 million to be able to support third shift worker, non-traditional hours. And so really looking forward to making sure that pilot and that we're able, that it's something that's more sustainable. Some of that funding was through ARPA, funding. And so I think that there's an opportunity for us to formalize something that is going to help sustain, right? Because this is the problem that I see, is that we create things and we look to see, but then we don't look at the long game. And I think that this is one of the things that frustrates me the most about these hearings, is that I keep coming back and I feel like it's great Groundhog Day. Now, I've only been in this office for, this is my third term, fourth year, and I ask the same questions every year. I review the same data, right? And I see drip, drip change. And I can share Priscilla's frustration, right? This is one of the reasons why I asked her to join us in this hearing today, because people are tired of hearing the same thing and expecting different results. And I think that we now, and this is the question that I was going to ask, that I want to bring to you all, because who knows better than what we need than the people who are actually doing the work, not all of these, folks with big degrees and pedigrees. And so I'm curious, from just keeping it 100% real right now, this ordinance, which is one of the questions that I was going to ask, I think it's time for a makeover. I think that we have an opportunity today, if we're really serious about workforce development, to revise and update the ordinance to meet the moment that we're in. So to that end, I'd love to utilize my time to hear from folks who are on the ground doing this work. What amendments should we be considering? What are some of the areas that we can improve? Because what's the sense of hosting these hearings and expecting different results? We only do this twice a year, and it's the same thing. And no one has time to waste. And we have people, women and people of color, who are well prepared, but we keep hearing there's no talent. And you're exporting people from the outside to come work here in the city of Boston. So I'd love to hear from you all. What changes can we make today through the ordinance? What would you like to see differently?
For me, myself personally, I would like for the unions to be brought to the table some way, somehow. Some of these unions that are not in compliance, that don't even care about being in compliance. There needs to be a way that we can say, listen, you all are unions. You all are the ones that do a lot of the training. If they don't want to train, then let's find, because there are people that have been in the construction field for over 30 years and still cannot get a good job, still cannot get into the union, or some of them don't even want to be in the union anymore. But the bottom line is the union, this is a union town. We all know that. Look at all this construction and stuff. Look how they built up the seaport and stuff. Look, all this sidewalk stuff and all these bike lanes that keep falling down every day and getting put back up. The problem and the issue is that some of it is the unions, the developers, the contractors. They have construction site meetings, right? They have corruption action meetings. I think that's a waste of time, because don't nothing happen at them meetings. They continue to get a slap on the wrist because they say that they cannot enforce people by numbers or people by color, but there has to be some way. So we have a brand new city council now, a brand new city council. Why can't we force the unions to the table and the developers? Raise up some fees and some fines. $300 a day per trade, that's a joke. They laugh at that.
So I want to note for the record that Local 103 has been one of the most aggressive partners in trying to increase diversity. In fact, they worked with community mentoring team run with Bill, and they have a strong partnership in trying to increase. So I want to give it up to Local 103 because one of the things that I'm committed to is making sure that I'm uplifting those good actors and that I'm creating opportunities for the ones who, I use Local 103 as the shining example of what it looks like. And I think, Renee, not because you happen to be here right now, but everywhere that I go, I always talk about how intentional Local 103 is. So can you talk a little bit about some of your practice? Because I think that if we can hear a little bit from how you all are working to increase your diversity, there's something for us to then figure out how we can hold other unions to that same standard.
Thank you for all that. I would say that we're community driven. We want to look like the community that we serve. So let's just be clear. Local 103, our jurisdiction is from the border of New Hampshire to the border of Rhode Island, right? So we have companies that service those areas. So we would have a company that works for, I don't know, say call Mass Electric. I work for them, and they're out of CGF White. They're out of Framingham, and they have their core folks, and they take them wherever they go. You know what I'm saying? So if they're working in Boston, or if they're working at Gillette, you know. So it's not just Boston. It's that's our jurisdiction. So that I think is an issue too, right? But anyway, back to we are here. I've been a member for 23 years. My father was a member, and has not always been easy. It's not easy now, but being present and like someone else mentioned Madison Park, like we have teachers that are in Madison Park. Like we have to be more present in the community that we serve. So and I think that the other unions are picking up, and I see growth. I see progress with them. Are they where they're supposed to be, where they need to be? They could be doing a little better, but yeah, I do see progress. But actively just going out in the community, doing food banks and more women in the trades, I think something about us being women. We do the work. We bring people together. We bridge the gaps. And that's, I think, is what's growing the unions, quite honestly, the labor unions. More of us women and more of us people of color we're just bridging the communities and more. And I hate to see all this, you know what I'm saying? There's a whole lot of this, and that's not getting us anywhere. You know, we need to sit down and say, look at what can we do to serve each other? How can we be in more community with each other? All that is not working. It hasn't worked. It doesn't work. And doesn't work in the unions, doesn't work in the community. So I think we need to find more ways to bridge the gaps, do things together, and see how we can serve each other, because at the end of the day, we need each other.
Yeah, thank you. And I see Liz has her hand up.
Sorry, Councilor Mejia, that we'll come back around for a second round.
Well, it wasn't a second round. Liz had her hand up, so I just.
Oh yes. Okay, sorry, I didn't see that.
I think this will let me share my screen. I just want to share a data display for 2 seconds. This is the list of the tracking of women in apprenticeship in the state and union and non-union apprenticeships in construction. So I just want to set the stage that the unions are doing a lot more than the non-union sector is. And that said, I completely agree with both Priscilla and Renee. We need to be doing more. The carpenters have set a growth goal for women of 10% per year per local, council-wide, so that's 7 states. And that is tracked at monthly regional manager meetings. And there's a lot of internal data stuff happening. So I think in addition to all the community stuff that Renee just talked about, which I totally agree is really important, that we've had some internal efforts. And we're not where, like my own union, we're not where we need to be. We're better than we used to be. I was the only woman on every job I worked when I started in 1989. But I totally agree with Priscilla. We gotta keep speeding it up, because we're not where we need to be. And the federal Department of Labor goal for women is actually 38% across all trades. So that was a change under Obama. It's being slowly, it was a long time ago now, Obama, but it's still rolling out at the federal level. But to me, that's the standard. Like when we hit there, I can take a nap, but not until then. Thank you.
Thank you, Liz. Just going to move this on. I think that there is another hearing at 2 o'clock, so I just want to get to everyone. Councillor Flynn and Councillor Fitzgerald, you're on deck. Oh, I don't see Councillor Flynn on. I don't know if Councillor Fitzgerald, I'll move on to you. Councillor Flynn, if you want to join us. I see Councillor Fitzgerald on, but maybe not. I'm just going to rifle through this if anyone comes back. Councillor Durkin. Okay. Councillor Fernandez-Anderson. Oh, yep, there you go. Councillor Fernandez-Anderson. You're up, 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chair. Ms. Flint, Ms. Dozier, and Ms. Skidmore, thank you so much for your presentation. Of course, I don't want to sound like an echo. I agree and support everything that's been stated here today. We have so much more work to do on this. I think that it's going to sound redundant if I just keep reiterating the same points that my council colleagues have made. I guess I'm wondering, Chair, where could we take this? Can we do a working session? And I don't want to put more work on you, but just asking, can we do a working session where we actually vet through and create the metrics for ourselves? Because if they're supposed to report to us, then the council, do we have this responsibility where we perhaps are putting things on some sort of chart where we're saying, okay, this is where we are, check, 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 and this is where this is what we know is going to happen, and figure out like exactly, because it feels like sometimes when we're in hearings, we make statements or ask questions and then we get minutes, but because our schedules are so inundated, I wonder if it makes sense for us to actually workshop this to be able to document it with whatever report that you will be putting out back on the floor in terms of what was the outcome of this. And in this way, we can hold ourselves to account and say there was a timeline, we created measurable goals, and we will revisit within 1 year or within 6 months. What do you think of that, Chair?
Well, yeah, I do think coming out of this that it seems like, and I agree with Councilor Mejia, that, we need to revisit what is going on. We're, making some progress, but, 40 years in, it feels like we should have like a method of enforcing this that's effective, and that we don't really have any enforcement, even though there's some in the ordinance, that we revisit that. We do have these hearings twice a year. In terms of the data, I'm not sure we need the data, any more data. I think we have 40 years worth of data, and we're going to get more in 6 months. I do think it would be good to, I don't know, schedule some, we can have a hearing and notice it, or it's a working session on the ordinance itself to target, what parts we need. So I'm happy to talk to you, talk to everyone else on the council to come up with a game plan for that. But I do agree that coming out of this, having reviewed everything, that I think we need to go back and figure out whether we need something more on apprenticeships. We don't really even have any data on the apprenticeship programs, or it's the daily fines, or it's something else. I don't know if that's. I think that's for after this. I'm happy to circulate the committee report beforehand if people want to comment on it before we read it out in the council. I don't know if does that work?
Yeah, and maybe not even a working session. And I was talking less about data and more about measurable, objectives in terms of the process, in terms of accountability, transparency, and so that we are doing our part. I'm putting the onus on us to do the follow-up here. And again, it doesn't have to be a working session, but maybe it's just a meeting with the administration, with the department, where we are looking at, because hear me out here, if we do create a chart, then we can actually provide this to the public and say, this is where we are so far. So last year, this is what we know. And I am specifically process. And of course, it should entail some data, because then we're making statements about what's wrong with it. And I think your policy brief did that just fine. But at least we can sort of, it's the tracker for ourselves, and also looking at policy legislatively, how we can make some amendments. And I think a part of it, it's the department not knowing who's applying to those jobs, which if union, non-union, individuals. So if that's the case, like can we add something so that we can actually get that information as well, and able to audit those applications as well. Because if they're not getting it, is it missing from the ordinance, and how can we mitigate that? But just my suggestion, because I feel like sometimes, again, like the work is the work is a lot, and we meet, we talk, we ask questions, and then the department is working really hard, right? And then the connection, I think, is reporting out, and the transparency behind it would be providing this level of like public report by way of a chart, by way of a timeline, to track where we are doing our work, so that we can show how productive or how impactful we are in following through.
Yeah, I mean, I think that might require a conversation with Government Ops Chair Coletta to see, maybe we could refile the ordinance and then open it up for amendments and start that process to see what her willingness is. But so happy to talk about it. Your 5 minutes are up. I don't know if you had any questions for the panelists. I'll leave it to you.
No, thank you, Chair. I didn't have any further questions. I work closely with BRJP. I've gone to their meetings. I'm aware that these panelists here have, and I've been listening, and we've exhausted their resources. So it's at a point now, as like where we're at a point where it's about action steps. So that was just my only point. Thank you.
Oh.
And I think Ms. Flint wanted to make a comment. I don't know if it was about what I've said.
Okay.
Well, thank you, Councilor Anderson. I seriously think when we changed the Boston resident job policy in 2017, we had some working groups, and we worked with then Carolyn Crockett, who helped us carve out this new policy. However, we were never really satisfied with this policy because we could not really sanction people, and the fact that we could not do that. That's why we settled for that 7 Rubik cube. I think we really need to look at how can we really make these developers and these contractors come up to compliance. I mean, $300, that should be changed. We talked about that before the governor, when she was still the attorney general, about raising that. And she's like, well, we can't do that. We got to go to the governor. Well, now she's the governor. So come on, let's try to make some stuff happen here.
Yeah.
And I think we should. I know you all do working groups. That's what we did. I think it was about a year, maybe 2 years that we worked on this with Carolyn Crockett, Chuck Turner, the people from the Boston Jobs Coalition, BG. And that's how we got the policy that we have now from 2017. But as you all can see, as everybody can see, it's still the same old bull crap, really. If you think about it, when after COVID, they wanted to blame everything on COVID. But it was happening way before COVID. These developers, these large construction companies, they could be doing more. Suffolk, come on, Suffolk is world all over the world. So you can't tell me that these developers and stuff can't input more into our youth, helping them with apprenticeships and helping them with their trades and teaching them mechanics and different things so that they can have a better life. It needs to start when they're in high school. And we have a high school that can do this work.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Flint. I feel like part of the issue is, and I think the case law says that we can't, it's hard for us to go in and say, you're not meeting, these percentages, we're going to take this disciplinary action against you. What we have is this sort of much thinner enforcement mechanism of, well, you didn't file the required paperwork, and it's just figuring out how, how to make it more effective. And I agree. I'm new to the city council, and I've been a workers' rights lawyer for 18 years. So I think this. I mean, I've seen the data. We need to work harder on this, and whether it's a working group, or we look at filing the ordinance again and start the amendment process, and and whether it's an issue of not hiring folks who are available or making more people available through the apprenticeship programs. I feel like that's suddenly a different issue that has to be addressed, and maybe we address it through this process. I do know that I'd like to hear more from Ms. Dozier about what IPW is doing to increase the workforce that includes Boston residents, people of color, and women. But I do know that the unions do have these apprenticeship programs, and maybe bringing them in to the table with the developers. I think we're all agree here, and hopefully we're not back in 6 months, but that's up to me and my fellow councilors to make sure we're not just doing the same thing over and over again. I saw Councilor Murphy has joined us. Do you have any questions for the panel? Oh, she joined us and she's no longer here. I did. Councilor Durkin was here and gone. I know we've been going a long way. I guess I just, if anyone else shows up, Mike, just briefly, Ms. Skidmore, this, the AOCs, do you think that would be a city requirement? Who would set those up?
That would be my recommendation, is that the city establish regional, and you can define it however you want, whether it's where the money's coming from or city council, whatever. But you don't want to have 100 and some odd AOCs. So you got to find some way to clump them together. That they become, you put them into future bid documents that contractors, if they're nobody's required to bid on city work. If they want to bid on the city work, they got to follow the BRJP, and a piece of that is report at and attend monthly access and opportunity committees. The PLA language that established the first one at UMass Boston is on the PTTI website. If you just search for PLA, you'll see that actual language that defines it, and it's pretty good language. So that could be put in contracts. Because of the legal stuff you said, the fining, and we just haven't seen examples around the country of fining being particularly effective, but we've seen be, as much as I'd like to, because fuck them, sorry. But what we've seen be effective is really making sure they know you're serious about meeting the goals, because there's a long history of non-compliance on lots of goals, and then showing them how to do it. And then, lack of work is honestly the biggest thing. So being able to tell a contractor, this is your third time not in compliance. We're not going to look at, even if you're low bidder next time, we're not going to look at your bid.
Yeah, well, that's it. That's in the ordinance. We're supposed to be able to do that. Just creating the enforcement mechanism. So Liz, thank you very much. Ms. Dozier, I don't know if there's anything you wanted to say about what IBEW is doing to create opportunities for people from Boston, people of color, and women through training, and what you've seen in your time there.
I would just say that it's just about being intentional. And, our business manager and the leadership here has just said, this is what we're going to do. And that's just what it is. So we have just a rough number, 50 white men that are retiring. So then people that are coming in, you got to meet, at least half of them got to be, 25 got to be black or brown. And then we got to have more, and women. So that's just, and that obviously those are low numbers, but whatever's going out isn't matching what's coming in. So just being more intentional, and we're here, and that's the part of just being present in the community. When people see you, I lived in Boston my whole life, I didn't even know about this. I didn't even know it was a thing. So when you introduce yourselves in the community and let people know that this is an option, and just being present, and that's huge. People know that it's an option, and what is 103, what is electrician, what do we do? We're in the schools, we're in the community. And then, just basically being present. And I heard Liz mention project labor agreements. Those things are huge, huge. And you got to hold these developers' feet to the fire, because we can hire everybody in the city. But if we don't have requirements, and what's that going to do? We need the work. We need someone. We need someone to be in agreement with us to hold up these standards that we want. We have them, but the developers and these contractors, we got to hold them accountable too. We can only do so much. We'll train you up. You'll get your license, whatever. But people that are coming in here and building, we have to let them know that you have to do the right thing, and we need y'all's help too. It's not just y'all. It's a partnership, because we can't do it by ourselves. These people come in out of state, and I heard Ms. Flint talking about sanctions and stuff. We have people come over here from all over other states, and they don't have licenses. They're doing work with unlicensed people. They'll pick up people from Home Depot, whatever, and just basically diminishing our work, you know, and that's not cool. We need people to just hold us accountable, hold licenses, and I'm all over the place, I'm sorry. But
no, it's okay. I think, Ms. Skidmore presented that chart, and it showed that the unions have been making real measurable strides, whereas the non-union employers haven't. And so I do think, it just shows the unions are part of the solution here. And, I think they actually can help us make good on these promises.
And I wanted to say that people are getting taken advantage of, and if we let them do it, they'll do it. And that goes on all levels as far as developers coming in, and we got to hold them accountable. And just like we hold us accountable, we got to hold other folks accountable as well.
Okay, thank you very much. Unless last call for city councilors, even if you have one more question, you've already gone. If you want to chime in, I have messages that
you can see my hand up.
Yeah. Okay. I just wanted to say first that I guess there is no one signed up for public testimony. Last call for public testimony too, but Councilor Mejia, the floor is yours.
Yeah. Thank you, Chair. So I think, I want to just underscore the sense of urgency that you hear in my voice. It is frustrating, right? And I know we are making progress, but I think that to the question that I asked about how we can amend, like just because things are the way they are doesn't necessarily mean that they have to stay that way. And I think that that's what happens when we just go along to get along. And I think that this moment is really asking all of us here in this panel, in particular those who have been doing this work far longer than any of us was even thinking about it, is what we need to do and how we're going to move differently. And that is what I'm invested in, right? Because what I don't want is to come October and I'm having the same conversation, I'm asking the same questions, and I feel like I'm just going around in circles, right? We have a responsibility and an opportunity to really shift this, right? Once and for all. And the only way we're going to do that is having the political will and courage sometimes to have those very difficult conversations with people, right? So that we can amend and update and fix the problem. Like, I think 2017 was great. Now here we are, 2024, good Lord. And yeah, drip, drip, right? And I think that this is one of the reasons why, for me, and this would be part of my closing remarks, is that, I always say that the people who brought me in here are the people that I'm here to represent and fight for, and I can do so unapologetically, right? And I think that people are looking to us as a council to be that vehicle for change. And the only way we're going to be the council that people are asking us to be is if we have the courage to make difficult decisions and bring things onto the floor that are really going to move the work. And so I am going to ask, I am definitely interested in amending the current ordinance. And so, Councilor Reber, I just want to make note for the record that, I know that this is your committee, and I know I'm not the sponsor of this particular hearing order. However, I am a member of this body, and I would like to work alongside community to figure out what we need to do differently. And so that is where I'm at, and that is the cross that I'm going to carry while I'm here. And so I'm looking forward to having a conversation, whether it's in the formal setting or out in these streets, but we're not gonna be coming back here and doing this same circus again. So if anyone's interested in joining that fight, I'll be reaching out to you all, and we're gonna make some moves. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Mejia. I Mr. Cobb, I don't think there's anyone signed up for public testimony. Is that correct?
No, Mr. Chair, there's no one that's signed up.
Okay. Well, I
Sorry, Mr. Chair. I think we did have one person that just joined, Pamela King, for public testimony.
Oh, okay. If Pamela King is on, you have 2 minutes for public testimony if you want to speak. Yeah, Ms. King, I can hear you.
Okay, fine. I'm sorry, but I have my phone. I have 2 websites on here, so I don't know if you can hear it, but it's distracting me. I have the TV thing and then I have the Zoom. But what I wanted to say really quickly is thank you so much for all the work that you have been doing. The panelists that Ms. Skidmore, I've been reading about you and Priscilla and the Boston Economic Employment Commission with the several articles from GBH News, Investigative News Department. And so Councilor Mejia, I've been hearing and learning. And what we've concluded, the people that I've shared this with, is that we just need to follow the laws. And when I hear and I found out from the GBH News article that there have been no sanctions as of August of 2023. So the fact that we have a sanction finally, my question, and I don't know if anybody from the Boston, the overseer, Ms. Nguyen, and their people, but my question is, how many days at $300 a day totaled the first sanction of $17,000? How many days, did they, in other words, that's a substantial amount of money, $17,000 for a sanction. So if they were able to sanction those people, I'd like to know how many days that compiled in terms of their non-compliance, and can we retroactively go back to the people who have filed their payrolls late, not attended all of these meetings? Can we go back retroactively and get $17,000 from them or more? I guess that's 2 questions.
Okay, yeah, Ms. King, so I don't see anyone from the administration. Christopher Brown, are you there?
I'm here, Councilor Weber.
Jody, if you could just answer, if you have that data.
Sure. I actually don't off the top of my head. I can pull all the data. There's detailed information that went to the Boston Employment Commission with breakdown of days. I'd be happy to share that with the council afterwards. Apologies, Ms. King. I don't remember the exact number of days. That's because the recommendations to the Boston Employment Commission had a number of subcontractors, but I can provide that to the council to share.
Ms. King, do you mind giving me your email address? I don't know.
Yes.
Mr. Cobb, do you already have it?
Yes, it's pmking47 at AOL.com.
Okay.
And my second question is, can we go retroactively back on all of these people who've been in violation and
yeah, no, I understand. I can look at the ordinance. I'm not sure what the statute of limitations is, how far back they can go. But we'll provide you with that information. It says, no, it's just during this. So I'm not sure if Jody has that information. It is.
I don't believe so. We've been providing, and I definitely hear the frustration. There's the number of days of late payroll every month is significant, so I think we're trying to provide that information to the Employment Commission monthly and identify those who have like trends, history, or not just missing a day or two. But I don't think, to answer your question, there's having read the ordinance, I don't believe there's a statute of limitations of going back a year and making an assessment of all late payrolls.
You said
Yeah,
there
so-
is or is not a statute of limitation?
Yeah, there is no, it does not, looking at the ordinance, it doesn't look like there is a statute of limitations that, that may be a subject for an amendment. There would be, I know they're required to keep records, I think, for 3 years. So maybe you could go back that far. But let us look at that and see what the answer is, and we'll provide that to you in the email. But that could be something to take up in the amendments for how far back. I know plenty of laws don't have statutes of limitations, and courts provide one that is similar to what it is. What should be in there. But I'm not sure if it's come up in the past.
Well, this could be accounts receivable, and it should go to either the money should not go into the general fund. It should go into the neighborhood jobs trust or the workforce development or some kind of job creation program. I mean, so can we get that $17,000 out of the general fund?
Well, I at this point, I don't think so. That is more of a question for the administration. I do think this hasn't been an issue. We have one fine from last year and no fines for the previous 40 years. So this is something to figure out, as we go forward. And I think the administration does have more of a commitment to fining. That's why they brought the first fine in the 40-year history of this, last year. And so, hopefully this is an issue we can work out through practice where we actually collect fines, for not following the requirements of the ordinance. I appreciate your testimony, Ms. King. We'll send you an email with that information. But that will close today's hearing. I want to thank the panelists, both from the administration and from the advocates, and my colleagues for being here today, as well as my vice chair, Julia Mejia, and the co-sponsors, Councilors Worrell and Madam President Louis Jen. I also want to thank Ethan and Ron from Central Staff for all their help. If there's no one else who's signed up for public comment, this docket will remain in the committee for a second hearing in October, and hopefully we'll be revisiting the ordinance soon, with the administration. So again, thank you, Ms. King. If there's no one else for public testimony, that'll be it for today, and I appreciate everybody's time and hard work on this issue. That concludes the hearing, and I'm gonna bring my hands together as the gavel, or I don't know what I'm supposed to do virtually, but thank you very much.